You are now entering a dangerous liberty zone where God-given natural rights are held sacred and exercised. This is your warning. Tyranny, fascism, and censorship will not be tolerated. Ideas will be exchanged freely. Rigorous debate and open discourse is encouraged. If you are weak and your beliefs are fragile, you should leave now. Prepare yourself. We are now live on the Dangerous Liberty Podcast. All right, folks. Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you guys are having a great day. Hope you had a great weekend. I know we did here. Man, there is a lot going on. We got a lot to talk about. I want to say hi to everybody over in the chat. I'm not going to go through, but you guys know who you are and our mods. Thank you guys for all the work that you do for this channel. We really appreciate you. Lace, the what you've been doing and sending us that information in the last few weeks has been extremely helpful. Thank you for that especially. And of course, we love all of our mods out there. Folks, if you haven't done so already, make sure you like, subscribe. Down in the description below is a link. We would love for you to be a member. And also down in the description, all of our guests, make sure you guys go follow them. They are truth tellers. I love these guys, and I mean that. They bring a lot to the table, a lot of great content. And if you're not following all of them, you're wrong. We're also going to have Arty trolls on here in a minute, allegedly. I think Israel got him. Israel may have got him. But without further ado, I'm going to bring on everybody. We got Jared with Continuing Freedom, Rage Bronson, Jay Whit, and somewhere out there in the world, somewhere in Oklahoma, is Arty Trolls. Hopefully he'll jump in here. I don't know what happened to him. But, thank you guys for coming on, and been looking forward to this show all week.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one.
It's going to be good. Yeah.
I'm eager to meet. I haven't met Arty yet, so I'm really interested to meet Arty.
Yeah, same. I haven't talked to Arty.
Really?
No.
Yeah.
Really?
Same.
Arty is awesome. Arty needs to have 3 different sponsors for hair products. He is he's got some amazing.
Hey, Whit and I need a little bit of what
you know. You're talking to 3 bald dudes right now, right?
I would take 25% of what he's got.
We can do the beard products. He can do the hair products because
there we go.
Wild stuff going on.
Brought to you in part by. I love it.
I don't know, VO5. VO5. Like the 99 shampoo at Kmart. Before we get too heavy into it, for those of you that don't know our guests, let's just go around the horn real quick. Just do a quick, 1 paragraph introduction. Jay Whit, you start first.
Oh, most certainly. My name is Jason from the Jay Whit Podcast. We do social and political commentary from a Christian male perspective. Always glad to team up with you, Gary. So thank you so much for having me, and looking forward to hearing what we got to say on this evening. Take away, Bronson.
Sounds good.
I'm Bronson. Oh, what? I can do this. I got this, Gary.
Oh, okay.
I'm Bronson. I talk a lot of shit and I wear silly hats.
There you go. Jared.
All right, I'm Jared. I'm I've got Continue Freedom. That's my podcast. I like to talk a little crap on the internet myself, but yeah, that's it.
Well, we got plenty of things to talk about, from exploding mics to Iran to psyops, you name it. I don't care where we start, to be honest with you. Today, I was having a lot of fun going back and forth with Ian. The Jews did it, Carol. He and I were going back and forth on X, which was just ridiculous. And then we got Chris Martinson into it as well, the self-proclaimed ballistics expert. So there's a lot going on. I kind of want to talk about the exploding mic because I love this. I love that these people actually went down the path of exploding mic. And I actually thought for a while, I was the exploding mic is so dumb. It's so stupid. It's so ridiculous that not even Candace Owens is going to talk about the exploding mic. But far be it for me to judge what she is or is not going to do. She took a hook, line, and sinker. And I think it was a real mistake because it is absolutely retarded, and there's no other way to say it.
I think we've learned over the years that there's really no extent to the I guess the level of I was going to say depravity, but not depravity, but they'll follow just about any rabbit down any hole. So,
well, they don't really have a choice though. If it's not a bullet, it has to be something, right?
Right.
And their only other option really was the drone theory, which I don't know. I go back and forth on which one I think is more retarded, the drone theory or the exploding mic theory.
Well, there's a couple of drone theories. Tell me which one you're talking about.
Just the one where the drone's up in the air and the drone shoots and kills Charlie with something.
Yeah.
Wow.
What's the other drone theory?
What's that?
What was the other drone theory?
Well, there was a couple of them being pushed by, number one, at first we had John Colin and Jason Goodman pushing that. Number one, we see drones in these smaller drones, right? These smaller drones, and that drones were flying around so fast that these are these top secret drones that you can't see. They pushed the exact same thing during Butler too.
Wow.
And then ultimately that one from some distance shot Charlie Kirk. So pretty much the same thing, but then they kind of modified it to where, no, it was kind of hovering off in the distance. You couldn't see it, but it shot them from such a distance that you couldn't pick it up on the camera. So they've kind of gone back and forth with those, with different experimental top secret UAP style drones. I posted the other day, next year, what we're going to see is Candace Owens say really what it was an invisible death ray from a moon base made by the Israel. That's what we're going to see. I mean, they can't get enough of the stupidity, and it just continues to get worse and worse and worse. But, it is what it is.
Absolutely. So, one of the things is actually I want them to continue with this because, as Bronson kind of alluded to, they're almost like they're stuck to the bit. They're kind of committed to it. So you can't break out of the bit. You got to go with it. You got to ride it all the way to the end. And I want them to continue because their credibility is totally being trashed by those people who have a sense of, a decency that they can see it, and maybe they have a couple questions, but they weren't really bought into the dumb stuff. So it's going to separate. It's going to be a very separating, if you will, situation where you got the exploding mic people and everybody else who's normal. Like, it's going to get that bad. So I want them to continue. Like, please come back.
You're forgetting one category, and that's the Charlie Kirk is still alive people.
Okay.
Which there's some conflation between those two, by the way, because some of the people that believe in the exploding mic think it was a squib. It was intended to explode to replicate a 30-06, but it wasn't meant to kill Charlie Kirk. And there's this weird kind of a couple of different niches in that theory where, number one, he's actually still alive. The other one is they meant to fake his death, but they accidentally killed him. And then the other one is he was electrocuted. They finished him off down on the ground. The mic exploded, and then they broke his neck in the SUV, which is the Baron Coleman wing of this insane thing. Now, I love that. Just exactly to tag along with what you were saying, Jay, is I think there's a lot of people that don't pay a lot of attention to Candace Owens, and thankfully so. But I think this is one of those things that grabs a lot of attention, and it will, like, for the average person that has taken, I don't know, high school level physics, they understand that an exploding microphone, even with a shape charge, is going to have an omnidirectional explosion. You're going to see observable evidence from, just visually, you're going to see it, and you can't hide that. And there's no way for it, because this is what they're saying. They're saying, A, that there was enough energy in this explosion to kill Charlie Kirk. Number two, it was such a massive explosion that it absolutely destroyed the microphone to the point that we're looking at, I don't know, some
shards,
some debris inside the SUV that they're saying. So it had enough force to destroy that, which, by the way, I just moved it over there, destroy that, but it left no mark on the shirt itself. A very thin white t-shirt that you could practically see through. And, there's no explosion, no burn, not even any residue on the shirt. And I think that's going to grab a lot of people's attention. And there's a lot of people that haven't been that are going to start calling BS on all this. So thank you, Candace. Thank you, Baron. We appreciate that.
Yeah. I think if I could say the thing that troubles me about this, because I'm now starting to see this in my own life. I've got people that I talk to if it comes up, which I've got a guy that I meet with once a week, and we kind of talk about life and things that are going on. And he's an older gentleman, and he was talking about his significant other, his wife, who was kind of wrapped up in this same sort of thing, and that it became almost an obsession over Candace Owens and her content. And this is a person who's very grounded. These are very grounded people, but there's an allure to it that really pulls people in, and it's creating this level of psychosis that's kind of taking over. That's what worries me. But aside from the silliness that it is, and that people are buying into it, like it really is an obsession for people. And this whole true crime I was, of course, I watch Nathan Livingstone on a regular basis, and he's always bringing up things where he does an amazing job, the mashups, where you just see lead on. It is so clearly a performative show, not based in fact, but just meant to draw in audiences. And I don't know what that does to people. That worries me significantly. I mean, I have, because even people that you would think are grounded and I don't know, reasonable people, it's capturing them. And so that's really what I see, because I listen to you guys cover it to the nth degree. And so the bulk of my data I'm getting from you guys. I'll be perfectly honest on this, because you are so well researched in it. And I don't know. That's why I see it as a positive thing that we're still talking about it. It's just a sad thing that we still have to.
Well, the thing with it is these people have been incrementally conditioned into this, because, Candace didn't start off with these crazy theories. First, it was just like, hey, reasonable questions. I think most of us started off with, hey, is the government telling the truth? Are the facts lining up with what we see? What evidence do they actually have? All the questions that are naturally going to present themselves on the first couple of weeks or even months of this investigation, I think, are reasonable. But it gets progressively worse and worse and worse. And one of the things I've always said is, I think a lot of these people, if they could go back to their September 10th self, and that September 10th self could see what they're posting, could see what they're doing, I think they would be really appalled with themselves of the things that they're saying and the things that they've been convinced into. And just for giggles, I want to play this little video. Raven Grace originally played, she had like 4 of them together, but I like this one the best, because it really does encapsulate exactly who your average Candace Owens conspiratard actually is.
In the video where he's being shot, it wasn't actually him, it was a hologram.
Oh,
there was a trap door. There was a trap door, and
but you don't actually believe this. You're just having fun with this.
No, I believe this. I believe one of 2 theories. That's one of the theories. I don't believe he's actually dead.
Okay, and the other theory would be,
well,
now I understand why you guys can't talk about things, because you guys are like scary with your brains.
The trap door that you think.
Well, so yeah, the door. There was a trap door. They covered the trap door up after, right, either that night or the next day. I don't. That's the cover-up people.
The cover-up people.
Yeah, the cover-up people. What would you call them? I don't know.
I don't know. Just like, who are they? What's the reasoning?
The CIA.
So where is he now?
In hiding.
She thinks it's Guantanamo Bay.
Why would he want to hide? He was very successful.
But there are people. Because
why would he want to be hiding?
Well, I will say, in the video where he's being shot, it wasn't actually him, it was a hologram.
Let me
this video actually reminded me of the hologram theory, which I had forgotten about.
I had never heard that. So I just had a young lady on. She's a clinician, and she specializes in cult practices, and she's a Christian apologist. Just had her on my show an hour ago. Fantastic young lady. Definitely want you to check out what she's saying. And I asked her about this. Why do people do this? Because, in the Carmelo Anthony story, there's a lot of people doing the exact same thing. They've come together. They've brought in these new stories and new theories and new ideas. And you're like, you just made that up. Like, you just made it up. And she said that one of the things is that the human brain likes to have a story, a running narrative. And if you don't give it a story, or you don't give it, fill in this blank, it's going to make up something of its own.
There was a trap door. There was a trap door.
Sorry.
And that's kind of what we're watching here, is because there's information and gaps in the information, people have created new stories to fill it in to make sense to them. And that's why it's so hard for them to let go of it, because if I just present to you logic and say it's not logical for a hologram, for that to have been a hologram. Well, that's a logical statement, and Bronson would agree to that, because Bronson's not given over to retardation. Jared would agree to that because he's not crazy. But these people who've lost their sensibilities and lost their mooring, they don't have a place. So they would say, no, a hologram makes sense. That woman, I guarantee you, if you could do a lie detector test, she believes everything she's saying.
100%.
She believes it all, because she's crafted this story, and it answers all these questions for her. CIA man, Gitmo, underground, all that makes sense to her. because it answers these questions and it fills in the blanks.
Well, the other thing that she brought up that I keep continuing to hear is there's still the narrative out there, like they covered up or they paved over the area.
Oh,
like
gosh, yes.
The next day. And it was actually 4 days.
Mhm.
They were actually working on that place. They had to lock down for 3 full days. They went through and forensically processed that entire crime scene. And it
Mhm.
was 3 full days at the FBI, the SBI. Literally, when I was there, the officer told me, and I was asking about this, and he said there was hundreds of people here. I don't know if that was an exaggeration, but clearly a lot of people there for 3 full days, 24/7, by the way. 24/7 they were processing that place so that they could open back up on Monday. That was the goal.
I think their argument when it comes to that specifically wouldn't be as strong if more people had a better understanding of how crime scene investigations work. And of course, nobody wants to actually do any work and look it up and try to get the understanding. They want somebody to explain it to them, but nobody on their side explains anything. You know what I mean? But for example, UVU, anytime you have a crime scene investigation, as soon as the investigation is done, they've gone through the process, collected all of the evidence, whatever the case, they release the crime scene. It is now up to the owner of the property. It's their job now to take care of their property. So at that point, UVU can do whatever they want with it. Now, whatever their reasons for doing what they did, I suppose we should probably ask them if we're really curious about it. But I don't know what it is that they would be covering up. Everything had been documented. There's pictures taken. And furthermore, if that's the case, well, you just can't trust investigative authorities ever, anytime.
So what you're saying, Bronson, is that those stories, because there's gaps in their knowledge as it relates to crime scene investigation, these people have filled in new stories and they've created new narratives to make sense of it because they don't know about crime scene investigation. They don't know what the process is. So they've just made up a new story to make sense for them.
And it's the same, or they listen to somebody else who made up a story or whatever.
Yeah, they outsource it.
But it's
they outsource their thinking.
Yeah, it's the same thing with the SUV. I've heard this so many times. Is obviously it wasn't treated as a crime scene because it wasn't impounded and kept in possession for weeks at a time.
Right.
There's a whole thing behind it as far as like what the perceived value of the evidence of the crime scene is going to dictate how much time they spend on investigating and what they do investigating it. I would assume common sense would tell me that whoever the investigative authorities were got to the SUV, didn't allow anybody in it, and probably didn't see it as a very high value piece of evidence. So I would assume that they took pictures.
Yeah, well, what they did or didn't do with the SUVs. They may have so they may have had it for hours upon hours. We don't know.
Well, we know that Frank Turek said that once they got to the hospital and everything, they did not allow them to take anything out of the SUV because it was considered a crime scene.
Right.
It was hours later that they were fine. They released it. So then Frank was able to go and get his personal possessions. And I believe that's when he said he grabbed the necklace. So if you're going off of Frank Turek's word, they locked it down and they did some type of investigation to it. I don't know what you could do. Blood samples, take some pictures, go through the personal belongings that were in there.
Well, let me ask this. I'm going to propose this and let me know if I'm going crazy, guys. How do we know that those pictures are of the SUV that Charlie Kirk was in?
Well, that's a great question. We don't.
We don't. So it's very possible that the SUV could have been impounded. It could have been in police custody for weeks on end. And it never, I mean, we don't know that those pictures that Candace is running around with, we have no idea that those are real. They could have just been a messy car after a bunch of kids playing softball here in the Georgia Clay. I have no idea. There's no reason to believe that Candace is telling the truth about those pictures.
I mean, that's fair, but it's also how they like to use arguments to spin narratives and spin their own conclusions. So if we just grant that those are pictures from the SUV, what difference does it make? What does it change? They're zooming in, they're like looking at tiny little specks of something, who knows what it is, and then they're altering the photos to try to make the image more clear of these tiny little specks. And then, you know what I mean? I don't know what difference it makes. So just assuming that they are real. Okay, now what? You found nothing. You have suspicions. You have, you know what I mean?
I'll actually push back on what you're saying a little bit there, Bronson, because what they do is if you present evidence, they want to prosecute that evidence to the nth degree. Like, where did this come from? But they don't get the same treatment, actually. So, like, I think that's a fair question. Like, you need to give us, because all we get from Candace Owens and her ilk are anonymous sources with unverifiable information. And another great example of this that I now know is an absolute lie is that Candace Owens said that an anonymous source told her that bomb dogs, number one, she said the police officers went arm in arm and searched an area for the gun. And then they didn't find anything, which you couldn't do arm in arm search. And by the way, nobody does that. And then they couldn't find anything. So they brought in bomb dogs to look for the gun. They couldn't find anything. And then suddenly the FBI shows up and then suddenly they found it with the implication that the FBI, that never happened, folks. I've now talked to 2 people on the ground through an agency that were on the ground. They actually did call in, and I was wrong. It was like, why would they have bomb dogs there? I was like, they actually did call, not necessarily bomb dogs, but specially trained dogs through an agency, and they wanted to track, because they had no idea that this guy cached a firearm. Why would they? They were in the middle of a manhunt that they were still treating like an active shooter. What they did is they took a dog exactly where he landed, and they followed his trail, which led them immediately to the firearm. They found it immediately. They locked down that area. They continued to search for the suspect at the time. So that whole narrative was a complete lie and fabrication that I've confirmed through 2 different sources. And by the way, I was talking to another investigator that confirmed that that is true as well through his additional sources. So number one, it makes no sense from a narrative to begin with. Why would they know that he cached a gun? Why would they know to look in a specific spot for a gun? Why would they know to put arm in arm or do any sort of search grid for a particular weapon when they're looking for, this is a manhunt of somebody. Again, they're still treating it as an active shooter.
Just to push back a little bit, back to your pushback.
Sure.
I think the point that I was making, as far as what Jay Whit was saying, was not as complex as that. It was more of he made the argument that, well, how do we know that those photos are real? And what I was saying, the point I was trying to make is that that's a very simple argument that they do, especially when it comes to like Fed slop stuff, right? Well, we just have to take the authorities' word for it. How do we know that those things are real? How do we know that their evidence is real? How do we know that they even have that evidence? So that's just the point I was making.
That's fair.
So if we're just assuming or conceding or granting that, okay, we can play this game, let's pretend that those photos are real of the SUV. So what? You haven't found anything conclusive whatsoever with those photos. The only thing that they've been able to do is string together stories that can't be validated.
Nope, completely agree.
This is kind of the way that a lot of this stuff has gone across the board, not just on this issue, but other issues, is where there's a vacuum or there's like Jay Whit was talking about, this cult mentality. We have to fill in the blanks, and people, they go to their, with lack of information, they go to the authority figure. The authority figure in this is Candace Owens, because the algorithm is pushing her, the bot farms and all that stuff is pushing her. And, they say, well, obviously, engagement equals correct. So we kind of listen to this person, and they create criteria that might not exist in the real world. As an example, I'll use something completely off topic, the Epstein list. The Epstein list, within 2 months of Donald Trump becoming president, because we hadn't had it. Let's start dividing up everything. It's trash. He's not fulfilling his promises. And let's start this whole divisive campaign, because we think that it should take 2 months. They don't understand how the declassification of this, the redactions, all these things go. It's the same thing with the Charlie Kirk investigation. There's a process to it. And they say, well, I don't think that 3 days, if they were there for 3 days at the crime scene, I don't think that's sufficient. So in my position of authority, I'm just going to say that I don't think it's sufficient, even though they don't have the information of what the PD actually found at that scene, documented at that scene. Same thing with the vehicle. So they feel I think this kind of plays into what Jay Whit was saying. This cult mentality says, let's create something to fill in the gaps, to complete the story, and we'll pull these unwitting people. Well, I say unwitting. They're
willing participants, right?
Participants, but these mentally captured people along for the ride, and we'll make some money while we're at it.
Well, while we're talking about that, Baron Coleman is pushing out this photo right now, and he sent it to me, tagged me, and he's like, well, why are there burn marks here? I'm trying to be as generous as possible. I don't see any burn marks here at all. I see smeared blood, possibly some internal bruising. It could be that too.
Yeah.
I definitely don't see any. If anything, this picture, because he's using this to reinforce or to provide evidence for the exploding mic theory as well, it does just the opposite. We see no burn marks. We see no scorch marks. We see nothing. What I see right there is smeared blood. And by the way, if you zoom out, because there is a bigger picture of this is while he's being carried to the SUV, and we actually have the person carrying him where you can see blood all over his arm that was underneath here. And I think that was a transfer from that guy's arm to where we see blood to the right side on his right side on his nipple.
There's a little bit of drama unfolding around this particular image. I don't know if you're aware of it or not. Recently, as I believe yesterday, Jane Doe. I don't know if you saw Jane Doe's post.
What is that?
I think I have. Let me see if I can.
So I can try to summarize it unless you wanted to pull it up.
I'll pull it up, but keep talking about it.
So, okay, the person who took this image, his name is Charles Wilson. He's a photographer. You can find his Charlie Kirk photos from that day are pretty popular. They're pretty famous. You can go to the website. You can still view all of that. But this particular image, he did not want to release to the public because, he doesn't give like an exact specific reason other than basically morally, he didn't feel comfortable doing it just because of the position that you can see of Charlie. Like you see Charlie's face, you see that he's clearly not conscious anymore.
Right.
So he never wanted to release this photo to the public. He did an interview, I believe, with what were those two girls' names? Brandy and Billy. Yeah. And he basically told them, he showed them the photo, and they both confirmed that there's nothing in this photo that's any type of smoking gun that's going to change the direction of the case in any way, shape, or form. Okay. Well, she asked basically if he was willing to give this photo to people like Barron and Candace. And he said, of course, I just don't want them to release it to the public. So I guess at some point, somehow he got in contact with Barron or Candace or whoever, and he gave the photo to Barron. And from my understanding is it sounds like there's some drama on whether or not he actually said Barron could clip that and show that to the public. It sounds like if he did it, he might have been pressured to the point where he's deleted the photo personally, and he doesn't want anything to do with any of these people anymore whatsoever.
Well, and did you hear the Blake Bednar's call? I think it was last night.
I did. Yep.
Yeah. So, he was very clear. He's like, I told him not to release the photo. So there's that. Anyways, let's actually listen to what Billy and Brandy. This is as I understand it, this is months and months ago, right? So this is like October or November, something like that.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Yep.
Yeah. So Billy and I saw the photos. Charles showed us the photos that he did take after Charlie was shot, and what we saw, there is nothing suspicious to be released to the public. And do you want to explain kind of why you don't want the photo that we saw to be released?
Well, I don't want that one particular photo. I released all the photo that I did that day. I only didn't release one photo.
And it's that one.
And it's that one photo.
It's the one that we both saw.
That one that you guys saw. The reason why I didn't release that one photo is because you still can see, you see so much. There's not much there. It's just his thing carrying him into the car.
It's because you can see Charlie's
face. It's just because you can see his face. You can see blood coming out. You can see his body. And I just didn't want to release that because, it's all about principle and morals.
It's sad.
It's sad. And it's just like, there's nothing. It's not going to help with the investigation.
No,
I don't think it's going to help at all.
And I can say from seeing it, it's
because
you can see Charlie's face and he's not like awake. Like
he's not awake.
Yeah.
And I released similar photo where you can see his arm hanging. You can see those. And again, I didn't release that photo again because I didn't want to be adding more stuff. I mean, there was already plenty of videos. I mean, there's people here saying oh, but the kids are already gonna see those photos. They're already seen the videos when they grew up.
It's the photo that he was referring to. In my opinion, there's nothing in that photo that would change the narrative or add or help to the investigation. Would you be willing to let us have that photo or send it to people like Barron or Candace Owens to help with the investigation if you think it even would? But would you be willing to like let people that are like private people trying to investigate this have it?
Yeah. If they reach out to me, yeah.
Okay. And I think that was like one of the main questions was like, why doesn't he want to release the photo?
Yeah.
But you said you're willing to.
Well, and here's the crazy thing. We continue to see this drip, drip, drip of information that Candace and Barron have held on to for months and months and months while they continue to demand all these people to release information, say this is a this is a crowdsource investigation. And basically, if you're not releasing information, you're not giving them video, you are now suspect in all this. But yet they are doing it time and time again. Candace Owens just about a month ago released the footage of from behind Charlie Kirk that she's had since literally September 11th or 12th.
Yeah.
That she got from Terrell Farnsworth. And there's actually a lot of helpful information in that video. For one, it completely debunks the exploding microphone thing because you can see the microphone the entire time as it's moving. So there's that. I do want to show just real quick this because this is from one of his pictures because it is a higher quality picture. It's not from a cell phone. It's not the exact same image, but I do want you guys to see what's happening here is we can see this security personnel. I actually know his name, but I'm going to keep that. But we can see there's a lot of blood on him right there. And then the other part of this, I want everybody to see, for everybody saying there is no blood, you can zoom in. There's actually another picture of his pants that's that is clearer than this, but there is actually, you can see in the better pictures that there is blood all over his pants, even more so than it looks here, but you can see a little bit here, but there's higher quality images of this particular picture where you can see that there's a significant amount of blood on him. And again, there's plenty of pictures where like, I don't know where people get this, there's no blood. And I think it's mostly from people that never saw the initial videos that, I know many of you guys have. They're horrible to watch. But they're out there if you look. But again, we have Barron Coleman, Candace Owens, and many of the other grifters that are exploiting people's ignorance of all these things and exploiting gaps in information where they fill in the blanks for them time and time again.
Since we're on this subject, I don't know how this ever becomes rectified or cleared up. They're never going to be convinced that a 30-06 was involved. That's pretty clear. I don't think it's going to matter what comes out in court. I don't think it's going to make a difference as far as the autopsy report goes.
For some people, it will.
Do you think so?
I think there's going to be about 20%, maybe 30% of their audience that I was talking to somebody recently, and long story short, there's so much more evidence than we know about that I think it's going to be extremely overwhelming. And especially once we get into some of the testimony, and we don't know. We have the preliminary hearing coming up, the evidentiary hearing coming up in the next couple of days. We'll see what comes out in that. Every time one of these hearings have taken place, there's a significant amount of information that's come out that gives a little bit clearer picture of what's going on. But I do think that once we get to the trial, whenever that is, which is probably going to be a year and a half, 2 years from now, unfortunately, I do think it will change. With that being said, they're already pre-bunking. I don't know if you guys I saw a clip from one of Barron's shows the other day. He was already preceding and pre-bunking the idea that some of the debris that you see in that SUV is basically lead. He's basically saying that it's lead debris where they've taken a pre-fired bullet and they're actually guilty of inserting that into the hole of Charlie's neck. And he said, you know, basically once you have a bullet that's been fired, it starts to flake off. And what we see here is evidence of that. So just understand that they are working desperately to pre-bunk some of these.
I think that's been one of Blake Bednar's theories. I don't know if he stated as far as like where they did it at the in the SUV or anything. I think it was more like maybe at the coroner's. But
I actually feel a little sorry for Blake. You know, he was pushing this stuff for so long. And now he's getting zero credit. And as a matter of fact, somehow I barely look at it, but somehow they're basically saying he's a Fed and a disinformation.
Well, to make that point, Kelly, I don't know if you've seen Kelly recently, and he just goes by Jay on X, but they're starting to see just how rabid and cultish the Candy Army is, because they're questioning some things now, or maybe pushing back a little bit on Candace, and they're getting tore up. So they're starting to see it a little bit now too.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that. Don't question the Candy cult. You start questioning them or accusing them of lying, and no matter how much evidence you show, it really doesn't matter.
Especially if you're a content creator. Yeah. If you've become accustomed to having a decent sized audience and having a lot of people cheer you on, you better be really careful if you want to maybe disagree with Candace Owens. It was sort of the whole point of my video I put out today, is that Candace Army, it is controlling a lot of the narrative, especially when it comes to content creators, because they don't want to lose that audience. They know if they push back even on the slightest detail, that could cause a real problem for their revenue stream. Mitch Snow, for example.
This stuff is so incentivized, like to the degree it has been incentivized. And for the smaller creators who are, you know, they're seeing massive growth and they're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then they get addicted to it, and stepping away from it when your BS meter starts going off, that it's going to take a lot of self-control. It's going to, you know, the people that do, props to them, because they're, you know, at least saying, you know, hey, I bought into this and now I don't. In light of new information, I'm going to change my mind. But it's going to crush a lot of them, you know, cost them money, cost them subscribers, because this is a cult, and it is a rabid cult.
I don't think many of them will have the courage to actually do that. I think the vast majority are going to kind of drift into a different area and just ignore all of it, because you're right.
You have to admit, there's a lot of people out here who they're creating content for content's sake. They're not driven by you know, real truth. They'll say, I'm a truth teller. And then they're parroting exactly what Candace Owens says, not doing their own research. It's just like it's a self-licking ice cream cone of BS. And that is that it's getting them clicks, it's getting them likes, maybe get them a little bit of money. And they're like, yeah, I can grow this thing. And so if there's not a court, if the actual trial isn't for another year and a half, 2 years, they will ride that gravy train as long as they can. And when the people that are talking behind the scenes, Candace and Barron and these other people, you know, chit-chatting with each other, what's the next step to the narrative? Again, I'm assuming that's how they do it. They've got a whole crew of lemmings that are just going to drive right along behind them. And yeah, they don't have the guts to actually call the stuff out, to call nonsense where nonsense is. And after I forgot what was the guy's name? The guy that got mad at me the other day. I went and saw his channel. I was watching some of his videos, and he openly admits, like, no, I'm just a conspiracy theorist. I started making conspiracy theories. You're like,
Bays?
Yeah, Bays. That was it. The Bays guy. He's like, I started conspiracy content so many years ago. It's like, all right, well, fine. Enjoy a good conspiracy theory. But because, I mean, there's two types of people, right? If you believe everything's a conspiracy, you're an idiot. If you believe nothing's a conspiracy, you're an idiot. Right?
Facts.
They do exist.
I love a good conspiracy.
Oh, yeah.
I've played around with the moon landing. Wasn't real for a really long time. I was looking into that. And then, you know what changed my complete view on that I knew it was BS, is I actually watched an interview with Bart Sabrell, who's like the predominant pusher of that narrative. And just listening to him and seeing some of this, just the way that he and attacked and the narrative framing that he was doing, and the just insincere. And he actually did it with a former astronaut, by the way. And the poor old guy, he thought he was coming on the show. I forgot what his Dorian something. The poor old, he's like 75, and he thought he was coming on the show to like talk about his moon landing experience and just like, oh, this is what's going on. And the next thing you know, he's sitting there and gets completely ambushed by Bart Sabrell. I don't know if you guys know, like the obnoxious idiot. He will talk you out of that conspiracy so fast, and is just attack. And like the astronauts just sitting there, like, I'm just telling you, man, I was on the freaking moon, and you could tell like the guy was it was real. And I was like, this is whatever percentage that I was possibly convinced in this, I'm done with it for sure. Like it is
right.
BS. But the difference is with these conspiracies, I don't care if you're talking about, those are fun, right? Nobody's getting hurt. I don't care if you're talking about Bigfoot, UFO, UAPs, whatever. Even JFK stuff. Like the difference is that you're not making real-time accusations and accusing people of murder with zero evidence. And that's
there we go.
Here. And the other thing is the hijacking of these narratives to push political agendas as well. And that is where I saw that this was completely destructive, and I still do. And I do think this is a very well coordinated op that is taking place. And I think it's Russia, China, and Iran, among others, that this is not like, well, is this a Russian op? Is this a Chinese op? Is this an Iranian op? I think they are working hand in hand. I think this is why this is so effective and such an effective weapon against Trump, is because for the first time, all of these people are working hand in hand to push this and are very cooperative when it comes to this.
I don't really mind the conspiracy side of it, right? The issue that I have with it is, like you said, is when they're starting to create narratives that are now implicating and attacking innocent people. Realistically, there's no evidence to implicate much of anybody in this to begin with.
Well, and the other thing that just automatically gets my hackles up is like when I know that this person is lying, and it's just such an obvious lie. Approval, like, stop, record scratch. All right, we're gonna go address this right now because this is a freaking lie.
Yeah, I guess I'm more talking about the people who, if they're there, are in good faith or acting in good faith when it comes to the conspiracy side of it or the asking questions. My problem with it is I would believe that they're more good faith if they didn't just completely discount the Fed slop narrative, because if it's possible to them that an exploding mic did what we saw, then it doesn't make sense to me that it's not possible to them that a guy on a roof with a 30-06 rifle did it as well. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh,
yeah, I agree with you. All I'm going to ask is that we stop calling it Fed slop, because I don't like that term. It's just the official narrative. That is just the official narrative. And I think and I agree with you. If you want me to believe and make room for the idea that a drone picked Charlie off from 300 yards away, then you also have to make room for the idea that a man was on the roof laying down in a prone position and took a shot with a 30-06. You got to believe that. You got to put that in the same bucket, and we can, parse it out and figure out which one makes the most sense. But if you want to say that he, exploding microphone or Ninja Turtle did it, you got to keep the original official narrative on the table as well. We can't just take the official narrative off and then embrace all this other craziness. Go ahead.
Yeah. Which you have a lot of evidence to support that official narrative. You just discount that completely, and then you go with something that has zero evidence. And a great example of this, again, I was going at it with Ian Carroll, and he said, basically, you're relying on something that has a 0.01% chance, talking specifically that a 30-06 would not exit Charlie Kirk. And that's what you're relying on when you have all this other stuff. And I'm like, so what you're saying is there's a 0.01% chance. Number one, where'd you get that number from? Is that science-based? Where'd you pull that out of? But there's a 0.01% chance, even though we have Martin Luther King, we have Chuck Ritter, we have Shane Hill now, another example of a guy that was shot in the back in the spine with 30-06 and the bullet didn't exit. So we have all of these real-world empirical evidence, by the way, Ian, and Charlie Kirk. But that's a 0.01% chance. But you would have us believe that there is a multinational, multi-agency conspiracy involving hundreds of people.
Come on.
And that Tyler Robinson was the patsy. Let me tell you something. It is the odds of a round actually hitting Charlie Kirk and not exiting are far greater than what you're talking about.
And to further elaborate on your point, we're too stupid to do what they did to Charlie and match that with the rifle that they're going to blame it on. I have yet to hear a compelling argument to explain that giant hole in this whole conspiracy thing. I'm just waiting on that. Really,
it was such a sophisticated conspiracy, so well planned that they got away with it. They didn't see nobody saw anything else. Nobody has a video or picture of anybody else shooting him. We have no evidence of anything else, and they got away clean, except for, hey, what do we actually hit him with? 223. What do we plan? What do we plan to the patsy with? What rifle? Oh, 30. Oh man,
36.
Double down. You really screwed.
I hate when that happens, man.
Yeah, it's preposterous.
You got lost in translation, man. Through the multinational organizations, they didn't translate it correctly. They need the gift of interpretation to interpret the tongues from French to Hebrew to German, whatever.
Bibu was speaking in Hebrew when he's briefing that down at Fort Huachuca, and things got missed.
I'm gonna butcher the quote, but there was a guy who was part of, I think it was the Watergate scandal, and he said, you know what? I know this is how I know that the Bible is true, is because 12 men went to their death believing. He said they either went to their death believing a lie or it was true. But I was in the room with some of the greatest political minds on earth, and we couldn't keep a lie straight for 2 months.
There we go.
No.
Most conspiracies, you can't keep that many lies together.
No, like somebody would have reported something by now. Like somebody would have come out and said something. You're not going to do that. I do want to bring this up because I thought it was interesting. I saw a post of yours, Bronson, I'd like to talk about. So I'm going to ambush you a little bit here. Not really. It's I actually like what you're saying here, but I would like to clarify. Bronson said, let's not pretend like this is just the candy side. Both sides have become incredibly tribal. I've been attacked and accused of working with Candace because I've made decision to call someone out on this side for attempting to spread false information about Candace. Whether you think Candace deserves slander because you think she does it is on you. I don't see the point, and I think it's wrong regardless of the reasoning. I don't care what side of the argument you're on. If you're being honest, I'm good with you. We can argue and shit talk all day, and I won't have any hard feelings depending on your opinions. I might think you're a piece of shit, tard, nut, or whatever, but no hate. So I agree with that. Like, and I know exactly, well, I think I know exactly what you're talking about and who we're talking about, which I don't think is worth bringing up at the point. But, and this is something I've talked to somebody else. I had a private conversation with them recently too, because they were pushing some evidence that just wasn't evidence. It was pod slop evidence against Candace Owens and that side of it. And I think we got to be very careful to make sure that we hold ourselves to a higher standard to make sure that we don't get caught up in that. And I think all of us do at some point. Even some of the ad hominems and stuff like that, I'm definitely guilty of it. But at the same time, when I am presenting arguments, I try to keep those arguments facts and evidence based, but kind of elaborate a little bit about what you meant specifically on that instead of me trying to interpret it.
Which point?
All of them. The whole thing.
Well, I got to pull it up. I don't remember what I said. I know you just read it.
Well, I will, while he's pulling it up, I will say we do have to be careful. I'm guilty.
This is for people, right, who I believe are acting in good faith.
Okay.
Right.
Or who I'm not convinced are just full on grift yet. If that helps clarify a little bit.
I agree.
Gotcha. Okay.
Let me pull it up.
So you mean people that are pushing the pod slop, but you think they believe it and are not necessarily intentionally lying? Is that what you're saying?
I think no, because I think that there's people who really it's not that they've chosen to not believe the official narrative. Sure. I think there's people who really don't believe it, who don't believe it whatsoever.
Okay.
Who are looking to try to figure out what else it could have been.
Sure.
I don't think there's a lot of them, but I think they're there.
Yeah. No, that's fair. I just thought that was interesting. What were you going to say, Jay?
I was going to say, I do think we do need to be careful. I'm guilty of it, calling names, getting a little bit loose with the fact that, hey, I disagree with Jared, so I can call Jared a name that maybe, maybe is not the most favorable. I do think we have to be mindful of that. And we do, because we can quickly rather fall into a place where we're just completely dehumanizing somebody that we disagree with, even though we're probably more right than false. But we do have to be mindful of that. You know, I'm guilty of it from calling Candace various and sundry names, but realizing that I don't want to get caught in that, because I don't want what I'm saying against her or what I'm calling out against her to be lost in the fact that I'm also tagging some pejorative that I've made up about her. So that's just something I realized, but that's it.
My biggest concern is people being so desperate to prove the other side wrong that they engage in some of the same fallacious arguments or using really shitty evidence to present against them. That's my biggest concern.
I can dig it.
Yeah, but I agree with you generally. Like
that, I agree with. I know, like, for the most part, right? I think I have a really good idea of what's going on. I think my opinions are pretty correct. Maybe not some of them, but there's definitely a few that think they're right about all of their opinions too. And we're getting to a point, I think, to where I don't know if there needs to be more open dialogue between opposing views over this, just to try to, because I'm trying to remain, I've closed my mind off to a lot of the conspiracy stuff, but it's not effective. What we're doing isn't really effective. I don't think it's helping anything. So if we can have open dialogue, right, and we can get discussions with these people going, if we are right, that's going to come out in their arguments back and forth, that they really don't have that strong of a story. Their conspiracy evidence really doesn't stand up to the test.
Well, and for everybody watching, I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning of the show or not. Wednesday we'll have Real Bays on, and he is definitely part of that crowd. I talked to him on the phone today, and I'm going to do my best, and I think he's moving forward in good faith as well. We'll have a friendly, civil dialogue about where we disagree, and I do think I've been saying this from the beginning. I do think that that's important. The problem is it requires the other side to operate in good faith. And even when I had Zach Costello on, I thought we would have some sort of good faith, logical discussion here. Right. And like the amount of fallacy that he falls back on, it comes down to, well, prove that theory false. Prove a theory that has no evidence false. That's the standard. And when that's the standard that you're operating on, like there's nothing to discuss. I'm going to push back a little bit. I'm going to disagree with you a little bit. I don't think it requires the opposite person to be acting in good faith. And I'll explain why. Mm-hmm. When earlier, when we were talking, when you were saying that maybe 20 to 30%, depending on if it's actually proven that the rifle did what happened to Charlie Kirk, 20 to 30% might swing that way. That same 20, 30% might not have to wait that long. If they can watch two people with opposing views discussing a topic and being able to visually realize that one of them obviously is not acting in good faith, that could very well start that turning point, if you will.
Well, I think that's the difference.
And we're not going to have that if we're not having dialogue with each other.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. What were you going to say?
Okay.
Well, I was going to say discussion, dialogue, debate. Like some of that is different, right? You could say that you go on Piers Morgan as an example. Piers Morgan it's a yelling match. Is anybody really getting their mind changed by a Piers Morgan show? No, not necessarily. But if two people take strong, you get your mind changed by Piers Morgan now
all the time.
Oh, wow. I've never had my mind changed by Piers Morgan. In fact, it becomes it's almost like confirmation bias. When I hear a Cenk Uygur on Piers Morgan, I'm like, okay, Cenk Uygur is a wild socialist, and he's obviously not going to gain a single point with me in any direction because he's obviously biased. I just don't think that is. But if there's debate and people approach it in a debate in good faith, those two people aren't necessarily going to walk away changing their minds, but it is for the viewer to see. So I think that's kind of, I don't want to put words in your mouth, Bronson, but I think that's kind of what you're talking about, that sort of thing. But if, are those two individuals, two commentators who have very entrenched views on things? they actually going to change their mind on a debate or on a podcast? No, they're probably not. At the very least, somebody who is playing the podcast slop might say, all right, I can't acquiesce in front of however many thousands of people watch that show, but now I'm going to go back and do some of my homework. And maybe there's a seed that was planted. Does that make sense?
It does. And
does.
I'll kind of offer a slight counterpoint. A good example of this was Andrew Wilson and Owen Schroyer debate. I don't think anybody, and I watched the reactions in real time on social media, both in the comments as well as on X and everything else. I don't think anybody, clearly Owen Schroyer did not have the facts on his side. Andrew Wilson not only outperformed him debate-wise, but also just from a factual and handle of the facts from that standpoint as well. Like he was able to present facts that Owen Schroyer just wasn't aware of. So there's that side of it. And I don't think that there was anybody that went into that their mind was changed. Every single one of Owen Schroyer's fan base was like, Owen won. Owen was great. Owen killed freaking Andrew. Like it was a slaughter. And then they pull little sound bites out of that and video clips to give you the perception of one thing or the other, that take things out of context. And obviously it doesn't show the full debate and what happened and the different information that was shared and exchanged. So I don't know. It's still a toss up for me, but we're going to have this discussion with Real Bays and we'll see where that goes.
Well, it's not an instant gratification thing either. It's a slow burn.
Good point. Yes,
exactly. I was going to say that this is on a curve, because just like in an election, right?
It's crazy. Yeah.
You've got the far left, the wild, crazy. I was looking at a clip today of the people at a kids event dancing around naked in a fountain in front of a bunch of kids. Those wild lefties, you're not going to change their mind. But as you start coming closer to the center and everything sorts to, kind of even, those are the people that whose minds you're trying to change. And like you say, Bronson, it's a slow burn. You eventually can get your way down to a certain point. But there's people right now that are bought into it. They're completely mentally captured. But if you can convince enough people, it slowly starts making your way back towards sanity.
I guess it's probably the percentage that's going to have their minds changed when the trial kind of and all that evidence is presented is probably somewhere around that percentage too. So no, I think there's valid points on both sides of that argument for sure.
I like it. Yeah, but anybody who thinks it's appropriate for adults to dance in a fountain in front of children, I think, can we all agree that those people they are gone, and those are not going to be the people that you're going to sway or compel through anything by hook or crook. They just gonna have to get it through tribulation, because revelation is not
I
for
think
them.
you could sway them. You just have to lock them up in a padded room and pump them full of pharmaceuticals for a little while, and play some videos over and over and over again. And I think you can change them a little bit.
give them over to Chase Hughes for a month.
Oh my gosh, that's crazy work.
A DMT trip.
If they became indoctrinated that way, they can become indoctrinated in another way. Just got to be willing to put in the work.
Well, what's your guys' thoughts on that? I think there are some people that are just mentally and physically predisposed to, are you a conservative, or do you buy into socialism, or do you think that is genes or environment?
I think it's environment, and I think that everybody changes their mind in a bread line. I mean, if you say I'm a socialist, I'm a socialist. Oh, socialist, communism. Oh, it's great. We've never really done it right. They would all, like, if there wasn't an authoritarian government required to create communism or socialism, the minute they could vote their way out of it, they would. Nobody, you know what I'm saying? So I think you can.
Okay.
But it takes extremes to make that happen.
Yeah. I don't know.
I agree.
Answering the question. I mean,
it does. I mean, I wonder how many people, like in China right now, or, well, I won't even bring up North Korea, but China, right? I think there are some people that are very indoctrinated in that. And again, it could just be that they've been exposed to that for so long that that's the only thing that they know. And, there's a lot of people that are in that type of environment, whether we're talking about different religions, cults, political philosophies or whatever else. That's all they've known, and they've been told that is correct their entire lives. So I'll buy some of that.
That's the same thing that is, it's like prisoner syndrome. Why don't the prisoners all rise up and revolt? Why was it when we had slavery in America that the slaves didn't rise up and revolt? There's generational capture that goes on for being in some sort of servitude. And whether that's happening in, China, which has been going on for a long time, whether that's, you could see how it was the opposite in Venezuela, because in Venezuela, people had a successful government and then they got a socialist dictatorship. And then there's people that still remember what it was like. So if you get past a certain level of, I guess, remembrance and generational, you can indoctrinate people long enough, they can maintain power like they have in a place like China. But if people remember what it was like in the good old days, you still have an opportunity. And, for us, I guess you could say we've still got the boomers around, but we've got a generation that is
shout out to the boomers,
generations that aren't captivated by the internet. That's been the big social disruptor for us. I don't know. I'm not really answering the question here, but I think there's still hope for people to be pulled out of that madness. And if they start having kids, I think that, some of them I think there needs to be penalties for the parents who do the things that they do to their kids. Like when it comes to the alphabet soup folks and specifically the transgender thing and what they're doing for kids. I think when there's penalties for things like that, then but we've got a long way to go before we can,
Well, if we lose the midterms and we lose 2028, I don't know that there will ever be any sort of penalties or common sense ever again. I'm very concerned about that. But speaking of indoctrination and speaking of social media, like, where do you guys see this country going? Because we do have I think a lot of what we're seeing with Candace Owens and the effectiveness of this PSYOP is partly due to, we have a couple generations of people now that, I don't know, man, they seem to have abandoned common sense. They've accepted this relative reality. It's not just, relative morals anymore. It is a relative reality. My reality is what I believe it to be. And I accept facts based on whether I like those facts or not. And like, we've lost the concept of objective truths anymore. Like, where do you see the country going with that?
So,
go ahead.
So I think we're going to continue to slide. And I do think that there'll become a more and more of a divide between objective reality and fantasy world. I've said it before that your culture and your morality are all downstream from your understanding of who God is. Once you answer that question of who God is, everything else can become lined up, or at least has a north to line it up on. So the issue is here. We have so many people who have lost the plot as who God is. They think that they're God. They think government's God. Everything else under the sun is God except God. So I do think we're going to see a continual slide, and there'll be a divide between those who have an understanding of objective reality and those who do not. And it will, now I don't know what that means for the midterms or 28, but I do think that we'll continue to see people become more polarized in those two areas, in my opinion.
What were you going to say, Jared?
Yeah, I was going to say actually, I was going to say something very similar to what Jay Whit did. But
you're welcome, man.
Politics, so you kind of took the words out of my mouth. But yeah, politics downstream from culture. Culture is downstream from worldview. And this is something I preach about on my channel all the time. I don't want to say not preach, but what I talk about is that they have merged politics and culture. And it is going to, your worldview is going to be shaped by some higher authority. For the Christian conservatives, it's God. And then the government is supposed to be acting under the good faith of God and acting with God as the arbiter of right and wrong. You're going to replace that God with self, with money, with clicks, with viewership, there's a million things, money. You can replace that worldview with a lot of different things, and none of them are going to get you to the same level of like true right and wrong like a biblical worldview does. So when we start doing this religion of self, which is what the LGBT, the transgender movement, this has become the religion of self. And when people start saying, "Oh, it's my truth," no, there is the truth. and there is your delusion or whatever you're using to replace the worldview that was put in you at the moment you were born. And there's all these extraneous factors, whether it is the internet, colleges, the whole education system, which is indoctrination. All of that stuff has to be reformed at some level. And the thing that actually gives me a bit of hope is, it's when I read articles about the rise of the church. And I'm not going to sit here and preach. That's not my thing. I'm not a theologian or anything like that, but it is true that people are looking for something greater than themselves. And this is actually happening in young people. And there's commentators out here doing really, really good work, whether it's Jay Whit or you look at some of the folks that are strictly biblical that are getting massive viewership because they realize that there's no actual fulfillment in making myself my own God of my own world. That's living a selfish life is very, very empty. So that gives me hope, honestly. So I wouldn't be on this. I wouldn't be out here doing a podcast if I didn't think there wasn't some hope for the future. Now, near term, I do have concerns about the midterms. I have concerns about the next election, because anytime something good, like the growth of a conservative Christian worldview, is happening, I believe, because I have a biblical worldview, that there's going to be something evil that tries to pull that back. And I believe those things exist in this world, and that's what we're kind of experiencing right now. And not to say that the U.S. is the end all be all, but we're supposed to be good stewards of what we've been blessed with. And I think that because this country was founded the way it was founded, that's why we've been blessed up to this point. So we're just good stewards of it.
Can I jump?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me just build off of this just to help everybody. If you could just jump back in time to September 10th, September 11th, September 12th. Remember what was going on in the United States after Charlie Kirk's assassination. Remember that. And remember people going to church and people, like, as Jared said, people, asking more deep questions about life and the meaning of life and all that jazz. And people like, I've never been to church. I haven't been to church in decades. I haven't taken my kids to go to church with their grandparents. All of that. That is exactly what we're talking about. We need to get, and we might need to start grassrooting it and getting out there and just engaging with people and talking to them, but helping them see, like, there is a solution that is greater and outside of us that we can seek after. And we don't have to throw our hands in the air because, somebody's attacking TPUSA or making fun of Erica Kirk, but we can look back to Christ. And I think that's what, if you just remember what life was like that month after, right after Charlie Kirk's death, that's what we're talking about, and making much and pointing people back to Christ, pointing people back to the solution rather than all this other stuff that now has kind of, taken our attention and taken our affections off of him. But I think if we did that, I think we would see some major turnarounds. Again, I don't know what that means for the midterms in 2028, but I do think for the long game, I think that would be the much better approach. What you got, Bronson?
Bronson, most importantly, I'd like to know where you think we are in like 2035, 2040.
Whoa.
What do you think that looks like?
It's in the future.
I don't know if I should say I'm kind of a doomer when it comes to this, to be honest with you.
I got a foot in both camps, the doomer camp, and I'm trying to stay positive.
So
the doomer in the chat.
I'm trying to listen to what Jared and Jay Whit are telling me, and I'm like, maybe that's where I'm at. But
so
I'm more in line with whatever you're about to say. But send it.
So whether you believe in a God or not, you're going to end up serving one.
Yeah.
And some of those gods may come under the guise of good things and free things and an easier life for you, while they take power and gain more power and control to the point to where they have full power and control. And now you figure out who that God really is. And I'll just be blunt. I'm speaking to Islam. I am incredibly concerned with what we're seeing in New York. I have a feeling it's only going to continue to grow. If you would have told me 20 years ago that we would have that much representation 20 years later, I would have said there's no chance.
Yeah.
I would assume
5
it's
years,
only
5 years
only
ago.
going to increase,
Yeah.
probably exponentially at this point, if something doesn't change quick.
When you have a woman that claims that the U.S. deserved 9/11 to happen, to
It's
win
crazy work.
an election. A woman that says, that is anti-American as she can possibly get, says that she wipes her hands on the American flag. These are people that hate our country to their core, and they're winning elections. And this goes back to, and by the way, I was just up in Dearborn, Michigan.
Oh my gosh.
I was just there last week, and I grew up in that area, lived there till I was 10 before I moved to Texas. And then I had family there, so I went back pretty regularly. I don't even recognize it, but it's insane when I'm there. And what I will say is that the last time I was in Dearborn, which was a couple years ago, they've actually cleaned it up a lot. But let me tell you something. It is like walking in a Middle East country. It really is. I mean, all of the stores are Middle Eastern. There's Middle Eastern people walking around. I didn't even see that as a kid. And to see how much the population there has exploded is deeply concerning. And I want to be clear. Look, I've said this before. Look, there are people that I served with in Iraq and Afghanistan that, like, I consider them, they were Muslim. I consider them brothers. I trusted them with my life. That being said, it's Islam as a whole. I've seen what it does when it takes over entire populations, and it's not good. We see what happened in Iran. Ultimately, it is a totalitarian religion, and there is no room for anything else. So it is very concerning. I think it is not compatible with the American way of life. And that's how I feel about it, for sure.
It's absolutely not compatible in any way, shape, or form. Yeah. And that was a big point that Charlie Kirk made quite often.
He sure did.
Right.
That I do agree with, and I do agree that it's a problem. But it currently, and this is just me playing. I'm just going to play the non-doomer on this one. Is that it is just in pockets right now. So let me put that way. I'm one who rails against it, by the way, on my channel. Is we see very clearly Syria. I recently was talking about, you could look at Syria, and it took a few hundred years for them to completely take over Syria. The same thing happened in Egypt. The same thing happened in all the Middle Eastern countries that were formerly Christian. They get a small foothold, and then they come in and take over because it is an ideology of conquest. Yeah. And we have to understand too that and this is why I talk about it very unapologetically, when they take the soft side, because you could go into the theology. Raymond Ibrahim has done some really good content on this, so I implore everybody to go listen to Raymond Ibrahim talk about how this has happened historically. He doesn't look at it currently; he looks at it through the years, and this is just what happens when Islam comes to bear. There's the Meccan and the Medinan phases of this, where it's in a position of weakness, then you can have a certain peaceful message. Once you get into a position of power, you become more radical, aggressive, and authoritarian. That's just how it works. It's historically proven since 635, whenever it was. So yeah, we have to be aware of it here in the U.S. And this is why, Supreme Court, we have to pay more attention to Supreme Court rulings. I was hoping that this Watson v. RNC would turn out in our favor. I don't know if anybody was tracking that one, but it was. What's that?
No, I was.
Yeah, and my understanding is I don't think it went in our favor. Correct? I haven't checked it recently, but I think it went in favor of the Democrats.
No, the Watson. Jim, pull that up. I don't want to get it. I thought we won the Watson.
Did we? The Watson v. RNC?
No.
Yeah. So. In which let me pull it up here. So if you guys don't know, this is one where they were saying the mail-in ballots that have been used in places like California, they were going to draw either broad or tight restrictions on it. And if they had taken a broad stance on it, it effectively would have stopped the mail-in voting campaigns that the Democrats have been using.
Now, what they ruled was that as long as that mail-in ballot was postmarked the day of the election, it would be counted.
So they can count after. Okay.
Yes.
Well, and that's not technically a win then, because it's just going to move the campaign to the left chronologically.
No. And look, the other thing too. Look, if we lose 2028, they've already said they're going to pack the Supreme Court. Forget about all the other Supreme Court wins we've had in the past. And if the Democrats get power, they've already said they're going to get rid of the filibuster. They're going to push legislation left and right. It's going to be upheld by the Supreme Court that is going to be filled with nothing but activist judges, and they're going to fill the federal courts with more activist judges than they already have. So that's my real concern. If they do all that, and those are the things that they're promising, those are essentially campaign promises right now. That's what's going on. Like, I don't know how we win. And by the way, they're going to open up the borders again. And when they open up the borders, they're also going to be pushing for pathway to citizenship, pathway for voting for all these illegal immigrants. Like,
Right.
I don't know how we win another election. And I hate to be the doomer on that, but I mean, it's what they're planning. They're telling us that's what they're going to do. And I'm taking them at their word. And if we do that, how do we win another election? I don't know. I don't know. We have 20 to 30 million people here at a minimum that just came under Biden. Forget about the other 20 million that we already had, at least before Biden's administration. But we have somewhere around 50 million voters that are 50 million illegal immigrants that for the next couple generations almost are guaranteed to vote Democrat. And that's just a fact. And by the way, they're going to be adding 10 million a year if they get in the White House. The border will be back open again. And I don't know how we make up that difference. I really don't.
Yeah, and I think you're going to see more and more division coming, which is going to lead to more and more extremism, which is going to produce more violence.
Yeah. Hey, Jen, can you just bring up like a synopsis of this? I don't want to read the whole thing as much as I would love to. Just kind of a quick overview of what the Supreme Court's ruling actually was, and we'll take it from there. Thank you, though. One thing I did want to say is if you're not following Dan Bermawi, he's also a great follower. We're going to have him on the show. Jen's in the process of getting him scheduled. He talks about Islam. He speaks Arabic fluently. I don't know. I guess he's in the United States at the moment. But I mean, he's read the Quran multiple times. I've listened to him on multiple spaces, and he's a pretty interesting guy. We're going to have him on soon and talk about the reality of Islam for sure.
Gary, we've seen, not to get into like graphic details about it, but we've seen what people that are, we say radicalized, but it's really people that are kind of following it to a T, what they're capable of doing when that ideology infects somebody. I was just reading today, I couldn't remember the name of it, but when I was in Iraq in 2008, there was it was a situation where they were taking women with Down syndrome and putting suicide vests on them.
Yeah.
And sending them into markets. Like, this is there is no, everybody, the average Westerner underestimates the level of devotion they have to death and destruction when it comes to the radical
Wow.
Islamists. I mean, it's wild and it's depraved. So we have every right to be concerned about it because, like you said, it is incompatible with the West. And this is the thing, when I look at it, it's not the person. I don't look at the person or have a hate for the person, but for the ideology that has influenced that person. That's what I reject wholeheartedly. I feel like we have to look at the humanity of people, and we tend to do it. We were talking about it earlier. I get ad hominem sometimes on X. I don't know what it is about X, but it like pulls it out of me. And then I'm like, hey, I shouldn't have said it like that. Or that was, that was in bad taste or whatever. But it's not the people. It is people that, like a Candace Owens, who is actively lying to individuals. That's the thing that has to be called out. But when it comes to this is something that is hitting people at the spiritual level. And that's a captivated person who's pulled in by that same higher meaning, except it's filling them with something that is destructive rather than something that's going to build them up. And so I hate the ideology, but I don't hate the people.
Well, and that's one of the things that really concerns me with this whole thing going on with Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, is there is a clear protection and even promotion of Islam. And that's the thing that it's like, you can kind of
crazy.
get bored with like 60% of the things that you say, I agree with. And then you start going a little out there, and then you start smuggling that in. And that's where all of a sudden I'm like, nope, we're not going down this route. I see you exactly for who you are. Like, what do you think that's about, Bronson?
Can you give an example?
Well, I'm just saying, like, we have Tucker Carlson promoting Islam.
I would like to know what Tucker Carlson is. as far as I believe he's stated he's Christian. I would like to know what kind of Christian he is.
I believe he said
Episcopalian.
what is that?
I think he's Episcopalian. is what he
Yeah,
said.
yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Because I'm understanding what kind of Christian Candace is. And
False, phony, and fake. Okay, sorry. I had to say that. Sorry.
Okay. So here's I really don't like talking about this stuff, but I'm just gonna wing it. You guys ready? Okay, so here's my position on Candace Owens. She had recently converted to Roman Catholic, correct?
I don't
Fair
know that
enough.
I ever said Roman Catholic. And by the way, what I did have Brie Dale on, and
Uh-huh.
when she went to Italy,
Mhm.
she went to Rome.
Yep.
Where she was at, where she was confirmed, that was not the Vatican. And that was an intentional messaging where it seemed like she was going to the Vatican. And by the way, a lot of people were pushing it, even though she never actually said that explicitly. But I do think that was a narrative that was being pushed by her to give her credibility. And that's where I was like, Brie, what's going on here? She's going to the Vatican. And, Brie Dale, we've had her on the show before. Like she lived at the Vatican. She reported on the Vatican. She's big on understanding the Roman Catholic theology and doctrine. And she's like, well, first of all, the Pope and the church would never promote what she's doing. And she's not at the Vatican. But that's the narrative that she was pushing, that she now has the full faith and trust of the Vatican itself behind what she's doing. And a lot of people still believe that.
Well, there would be some who would argue that the current states of Rome
Sure.
is that it's becoming very Gnostic in
I
the
agree.
sense that they seem
Yeah.
to be quite accepting of other religions. What they're not seeming to be accepting of is, or more divided against, is certain sects of Christianity.
Sure.
And I think with Candace, what you see is somebody who's newly converted into that faith, and she has a bone to pick with certain other type of Christians, mainly in TPUSA's evangelical style Christianity.
Yeah.
So I can't help but see that coming out in Candace Owens. And it feels sometimes to me more of a sort of holier than thou religious attack on Erica and TPUSA than it does anything to actually do with Charlie Kirk. But I don't know enough about any of this stuff to really delve into it. But it's funny because the Catholics, or some Catholics online who do content seem to be incredibly opposed to the Star people. However, their church has been incredibly Judaized. So it just seems strange.
Judaized, is that a technical term?
Yeah, it is. And there's a lot of information on that. I don't know if you go back, I believe it's like Vatican II. Essentially, Rome, they are not allowed to convert Jews. They are not allowed to approach them and try to convert them.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jews, we got Arty Trolls in the chat. What's up, buddy?
There he is.
Man.
What's going on, brother?
One of my favorite
Hey, guys.
Israel shills.
Oh, do I have this repeating? Oh, my bad. I had the stream open, so it was all repeating for me.
Sweet.
Ooh.
Man. Well, I'm glad you made it.
And I'm so
Yeah,
sorry to come so late. Wife just got home from work. Kid's been sick. Ooh, it's been a rough week already.
No worries, man. We're just glad you're here.
Chopping it up.
Bring Arty into the mix. I want to kind of delve with this. See, this is my problem with the whole woke right movement, right? And that is that's fine. You don't like Jews, you don't like Israel. Give me some reasons behind that other than the Jews control the world. But I understand anybody that has a criticism or complaint about the politics, about the government, about our relationship. I think all that stuff's on the table. But my problem is all of these people, they, for some reason, I never see them criticizing Islam. They talk about the Epstein files, they talk about Jews, Israel, all this stuff, but they never, like, I don't ever see Ian Carroll talking about the problem with Islam or the issues that we have in the Middle East outside of Israel. It's like it always goes back to Israel with these people, and I don't understand. It's like those things should be, you should be able to hold those are independent thoughts, right? And those are independent belief systems. Like you can be against Israel, but I mean, it should be pretty easy to like, hey, you know what? This is really bad. And by the way, it is one of the most institutionalized forms of pedophilia globally that we've ever seen. And by the way, we do have them invading our country and trying to change our country at the cultural level for sure. Like, and I don't ever see any pushback on that from that side, which is, again, it gets my suspicions up completely.
Yeah, I don't want any foreign influence in my government whatsoever. I don't care what country they're from.
I'm with you.
If they are not American, I don't get out. I don't want their money. But that's, I don't know how you stop that, to be honest with you. There are so many loopholes when it comes to foreigners being able to contribute money to campaigns and whatnot. So I don't know how we stop that, but I don't want that. I don't want any foreign influence in our government, and I want us to be a majority Christian nation, and I would prefer to have only Christian representation in government. But,
and only white, and clearly only white people as well. I see where this is going.
Well, I mean, it depends. If it's like Jay Whit, no, they can come along.
But I don't want to be oppressed by people like Arty with good hair like that. I don't want him like oppressing me. So
we all got to take our lumps, Jay Whit.
Right, man. I got to take my lumps.
I think you got to be beating the beard department there, man.
And chin crowns rock, man. Chin crowns, absolutely.
This was a whole discussion before you came on here when we first started. I was like, we're going to have Arty come on here. He should actually have multiple sponsors.
Brought to you in part by Pantene.
Yeah.
And everybody pointed out that everybody else on the panel is bald. I was like, well, you know, at least maybe we should have beard products. But
Arty, if you ever decide to cut your hair, just give me a shout.
Oh, man. I haven't had short hair since I was, I think 12, about 12 years old.
Jeez. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Just come on here to brag about your hair, dude.
Right.
Oh, man.
So Arty, we've been talking about a lot of things going on. What's up in the world with you? Like what's grabbing your attention right now in the world?
Oh, shoot. I mean, some of the stuff, man, I feel like I've been awake for like 2 days now, trying to remember what I even covered this morning. But I know what really caught my attention was the convenience of Candace Owens going on vacation. I mean, she's clearly dodging this whole Tyler Robinson pretrial. I think that's what's going on. She's going to be very selective when she comes back. That was kind of the focus I had this morning. That's kind of what I feel like is happening. I don't know if she had this vacation planned months in advance, but it seems like she's going on vacation every 3 weeks or so.
Yeah.
Well, she had just like the normal family fishing trip to Russia just a couple weeks ago. I mean, that was.
Yeah.
And before that was the week at the quote unquote Vatican.
Yes.
And then,
yeah.
I mean, she's taken like 7 vacations since Charlie Kirk passed away.
Yeah. She took her fall break in October.
Yeah. And Christmas break.
Christmas was a thing. Yeah. But she takes a lot more time than I would say probably the average content creator, while also saying, you know, the Epstein class. She's not a part of that. She's not a part of the wealthy. How does she always phrase it? Like she always says, we're not part of that, you know, upper echelon. And I'm just like, what are you talking about?
Right.
And you're going on vacation left and right. You're married to a billionaire. She can go anytime she wants. Just to miss the trial, that's odd.
Well, she also has her Macron trial coming up as well. I think that's
the 27th. Yep.
27th of July.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And we're still in the dismissal phase. They haven't even gotten to the meaty parts yet.
I am if I don't have anything going on, because this is only like a 4-hour drive, I think I'm going to go to that hearing. We'll see. That Candace would love that if I showed up. I'm just
is that something she has to appear in person for?
I think she does.
Or you should go.
Oh, I most likely will. If I don't have anything going on that day, and I mean something serious going on that day, I'm going to go.
Try to get a picture with her. I'm going to really throw people for a loop.
Come on, let's get a picture.
That would be the best.
Isn't that interesting though? They, you know, Arty, you mentioned her vacation to Russia and or wherever she's going now, but it's like a pilgrimage for them. So they talk about people that go to Israel and go to the Wailing Wall, and yet Tucker has done it in Russia, and he's done it in Qatar, and Candace has done it in Russia. And they're making these pilgrimages, and they come back talking about how wonderful Russia is.
Wonderful is.
Oh, it's this glorious, just bastion of freedom and beauty and all that. Meanwhile, you listen to people who've been there. I've never been there, but I hear the exact opposite from other folks. Like, no, it's dark and old communist era architecture and all that kind of stuff. But it's these pilgrimages that they take to these other countries, and they come back just singing their praises. It's interesting. Or they're buying property there, like Tucker in Qatar.
Yeah.
Well, we're talking about foreign influence. I mean, the Qatar is the number one funding, pushing money into our education system. Like they're funding colleges by the billions right now.
$6 billion, over $6 billion.
Well, it was like 6 or 7 billion for like the last 10 years, and now they've amped it up to like 1.5 billion a year. So that tells you what they're doing. They're going after our institutions, and that's something I have less concern about money coming in from campaigns of politicians than I do pumping into these schools. Like that's a real concern.
That's a good catch.
I'll say it's equal, right? I don't want I don't want politicians being funded by foreign sources, but I sure as hell don't want our schools being funded by the billions from a place like Qatar. Like, and nobody ever talks about that. Nobody ever talks about that. All we ever hear about is Israel, and they're like at one of the bottom of the list when it comes to foreign influence money. So
they don't even crack the top 10.
Nope.
Yep. But that's the biggest concern, because they focus in on the individuals. And this is another thing with the whole Trump deal, that they're like, oh, Israel and Miriam Adelson and all that money. And here we are doing a deal. Donald Trump is working on a deal that does not favor them, and yet they still try to push the narrative that he's completely controlled by them. And Tucker did a pitch where it was, oh, now, the president is what he called him, and I'm paraphrasing, but the president most captured, completely under the control of Israel, and they couldn't even keep him. So it's like as if Donald Trump doesn't act of his own volition, that he can only act as a puppet. And somehow he magically pulled away from the allure of the Israel lobby, when we know that Donald Trump is trying to do what's best for America. And we might not agree with every decision he's made. Lord knows I don't, not with every decision he's made, but they still have to keep that narrative that it's, he's the puppet master pulling the strings sort of thing. And it's so silly, and reality just doesn't bear it out.
Yeah. No, it really doesn't. And what is crazy is they were saying the exact same thing last year when Charlie Kirk was still alive. I'm going to play this real quick, and I won't play all of it because it's 7 minutes, but I thought it was interesting. Somebody had said something, and I wanted to respond to them. Let me make sure that I'm showing this. And I found this clip, and I definitely recommend that everyone goes and watches this full episode. I got the link in this post, but the full episode is on Rumble, so go watch it.
And you might say, Charlie, do you support or oppose this?
Now, this is right July 21st. I believe we started bombing Iran and Midnight Hammer and the 20th. So this is right as we started dropping bombs on the nuclear facilities in Iran.
Support President Trump. That's my answer. I know the man. He's the commander-in-chief. He's the man for the hour, and he's had the weight of the world on his shoulders. So in a situation like this, I support my friend, and he's had my back and I have his. Potentially have a nuclear weapon. And when Trump speaks, you should absolutely listen. President Donald Trump in November of 2011 said, quote, Iran's quest for nuclear weapons is a major threat to our nation's national security interests. We can't allow Iran to go nuclear, period. Now, the tweet that I sent that has gone very viral, I'm going to read for you right on air. And it's very simple. Here is my tweet. Iran gave President Trump no choice. For a decade, he has been adamant that Iran will never get a nuclear weapon. Iran has decided to forego diplomacy in pursuit of a bomb. This is a surgical strike, operated perfectly. President Trump acted with prudence and decisiveness. It's been clear for 20 years that Iran will not get a nuclear weapon. For 20 years, he has said that. Iran will not get a nuclear weapon. Now, for some people that are criticizing President Trump, your criticisms would have more potency if President Trump did not try to have a diplomatic solution beforehand. There was a 60-day diplomatic window, and Iran was just playing games. They were just going wishy and washy. I don't know if you want that. And President Trump said, look, on day 61, you're not going to like what happens. President Trump let Israel off the leash, and Israel did what Israel did. And President Donald Trump, he was very, very patient. He had a lot of restraint. Now, understand, when we drop bombs, it should be done with heaviness. It should be done with humility. I'm not saying we never should. I'm not a dove. I'm not an isolationist. No one watching this program, I think, has that opinion. But when you do,
which, by the way, is something that people are continuing to push, that Charlie Kirk was. He wasn't an isolationist. He was like me and a lot of, I bet everybody on this panel, like, war is a necessary evil. And sometimes if you're going to lead with peace through strength, sometimes you got to flex your muscles and you got to drop some bombs. It's just a fact.
But you should not get a thrill up your leg like Chris Matthews when you're listening to Barack Obama. My take is very simple. We trust the commander-in-chief and his judgment. We don't know all the intelligence that was in front of him. Now, by the way, there are a kind of worst-case scenario is that this escalates and that it forces our hand in a situation that we might not like. But Iran, they're playing with fire here. If Iran decides to get engaged and gets involved, boy, that will not be a good decision for them. Can we get Netanyahu's speech here? Netanyahu has said, quote, "Congratulations, President Trump." And you might say, Charlie, do you support or oppose this? I support President Trump. That's my answer. By the way, I also look at this and I say, and I understand the arguments of people that, don't intervene and all that. I get it. But boy, have we not exhausted so many diplomatic channels and options. At the moment we're in right now, this is not by any means yet showing that we're going to get into a whole nother endless war. It can get there. You can always run the risk. That's always been my contention. But I have full faith in President Trump to navigate this. And might say, oh, Charlie, what evidence do you have to support that? Donald Trump took out ISIS without getting us in an endless war. ISIS. Mm-hmm. Donald Trump bombed the Houthis without getting us into an endless war. Donald Trump took out Soleimani without getting us into an endless war. Donald Trump moved the embassy to Jerusalem without getting us into an endless war. And so
and we could add Venezuela to that as well, folks.
Elements and the details around this.
Says this is the same excuse they used to get us to invade Iraq. It's a reasonable argument. I think it's a little different. The nuclear program is at least real. 100% real. No one disputes it is real.
The weapons of mass destruction were.
It is clearly. I mean, even Iran is like, we got the uranium out. Not a thing with Iraq. So we should at least acknowledge that. Laughing because Trump chose Israel first. That is a take we're going to see. I think Trump is choosing America first. You can argue about what America first amounts to, but I think it's unfair to say he's just like doing someone else's bidding.
Of concerns, I get it. It was Iran not interested because they really thought for whatever reason President Trump was not going to do this.
So I mean, literally, that could be played today in response to what's going on in Iran right now, and we can't say for sure. And I'm not going to put words in Charlie Kirk's mouth. I've said this before. Like, ultimately, I don't really care what Charlie Kirk thought about this war. I think, given that information, that was right after the bombing, I think he would still support President Trump. And he would support President Trump for the same reason that I do, even if he disagreed with the war in Iran, which I don't. I think we need to capitalize on this moment. I think we need to take out the RGC. With that being said, like, even if he disagreed with Trump's action in Iran, he wouldn't be doing what all these other people are doing and saying, you know what, just vote Democrat. There's no chance of that. No chance of that. What's your guys' takes on that?
Well,
I mean, sorry, go ahead, Arty.
Trust me, bro. Charlie definitely got yelled at in the Situation Room. And that's all the evidence I can provide for you. Can't provide you any bit more evidence than that. There's a book coming out, though, that's, just mentions it. No sources, though. So, they definitely weren't trying to get good book sales or anything like that. That's about all I know. At least from what Candace's team has been telling us. So, just disconnect from everyone. Only listen to Candace and don't ever seek out any other information anywhere else. That's that's what I've been told to do.
I got you. I'm gonna riff off of something you said, Gary, and just I think we need to stop saying what would Charlie Kirk do.
Yeah.
Like, again, I feel like, what is this? Circa 2005 with the little wristbands, WWJD. Like, no, we don't. No, stop it. We're not worried about what would Charlie Kirk do now. What are we going to do in this time and space? And we're going to move forward from here. We're not wondering. Charlie Kirk isn't our bellwether for that. So like, stop it. So that being the case, wherever he was because we don't know where he would be today. And I don't think he would be far off of this panel, but we don't know that. Yeah. And that's irrelevant to where we are today. We have the fortunate opportunity. We've lived longer than Charlie Kirk. So we're going to live in this moment and make decisions, and we'll deal with them accordingly. We're not going to use Charlie Kirk as our measuring rod for whether or not we make the decision today. I mean, he's been gone for 9 months, almost 10. We're not going to worry about that. We're going to keep moving forward. So that's just my thing. That I find it interesting that people keep using him as if he's like the measuring rod for that, when no, he's not. He's not. We have the opportunity. We have more information than he does. Then he didn't have this information. Yeah, because he was not alive. So that's just my little pushback there.
Well, and it's the Candace Owens side that's using him like a ventriloquist doll, right? It's like, oh,
for sure.
Charlie said that he's against endless wars. Guess what? Gary's against endless wars too. I guarantee you that Trump is against endless wars. I bet everybody in the administration just about is against endless wars. That's not what we're talking about. Even the term regime change is loaded, right? Usually when we say regime change, we're thinking Iraq, Afghanistan, a quagmire. That's the baggage that comes with that term. You can actually, the United States actually can do regime change in Iran very, very easily, or at least fairly easily, without ever putting a bunch of boots on the ground. And that is, we just need to simply arm the Iranian people and let them take control of their own country. We provide them air support. We provide them drones. We make sure that we prep targets for them. And what I mean is bomb the shit out of them and let them finish up with the assault force. Like we could have a friendly or a better Iran. I don't know what's going to come out of all that. It may be worse. I don't know. We'll deal with that down the road. But what I do know is that we cannot have a homicidal, suicidal regime that is going after nuclear weapons. And one of the things that I didn't play that I think is really important that Charlie Kirk did mention in that clip, he said, hey, folks, it doesn't matter if we've decimated their nuclear program. Their push for a nuclear program is ideological. This has nothing to do with the actual, so as long as they're continuing to strive for a nuclear weapon, they are a threat. And that's something that he brought up specifically, just as a forewarning, like, hey, this isn't over, because as long as they're trying to pursue a nuclear weapon, we have to address this. He said that explicitly. And please go watch that entire, I don't know, it's like a 3-hour podcast on Rumble, because I think there's a lot of nuance in there that is being lost. And regardless of what Charlie was still alive today and was like, I hate this. I don't want to do, we shouldn't be involved in Iran. Gary would still be saying the exact same thing. I think we need to, because I don't want my kids, my grandkids fighting a war with a nuclear armed Iran, because the chances of another president having the fortitude and will to drop bombs in Iran, I think we have 2 years left. I don't even care if Marco Rubio, I don't think he would be as aggressive as this. So I think these future presidents would continue to kick this can down the road to where we have a threat that we do have to face because they've attacked us or they've attacked one of our allies, whether it's in the Middle East or in Europe. We already found out, and we didn't know. We thought their ballistic weapons program was good for about 2,500 kilometers. Guess what? It's 4,500 kilometers. Now they put a nuclear bomb on that, or even with their ballistic weapons, they start dropping bombs on Europe. And why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't they? They've hit Qatar. They've hit the UAE. They've hit Kuwait. Like, what stops them other than the U.S.? We're the only ones with the balls, us and Israel, by the way. We're the only ones with the balls to ever address Iran. Nobody else wants to.
This is the argument a lot of people are making right now that, oh, well, we're just going back to exactly what the JCPOA was. And they say we should, we had inspections and we had, and I said, yeah, with the inspections and all the things that were happening, they still were able to continue building their ballistic missile stockpile. And the argument that Rubio has made, that I think JD Vance has made, is that impenetrable basically ballistic missile shield that they had, where the defenses can't overtake their ability to deliver them. That's one of the things we were trying to stop. So to that, I totally agree with it. But there are things I think in this 14-point plan that the way that it was initially laid out, that's surface level. That's like reading headlines.
Yeah.
So what is actually going on behind the scenes? And, we were talking about or Charlie Kirk and how people are asking what would he think about all this? That shows us the power vacuum that exists post Charlie Kirk in the Republican Party. And it's like there's a slap fight going on for who's going to grab the rudder. So we would think that it would be Donald Trump because that's the guy that Charlie Kirk built the movement around. Instead, we have people like Tucker Carlson who's coming in and bashing Trump and talking up J.D. Vance. And you've got, Candace Owens and other people that are out here trying to muddy the waters and say that the guy is entirely controlled by foreign influence. And they're going to eventually want their guy or gal or whoever it is to come in. And I think that speaks to the power of Charlie. But to Jay Witt's point, we have to start thinking independently as well-meaning individuals. What does this actually mean for the future of America? Is Iran a threat? Are they still a threat? And to me, I think that to a certain degree, yeah, they definitely could be. I don't want there to be half measures for all for the blood and the treasure that we have expended on this operation. So we're in here, we're in it. We've got to finish it. And I don't want it to be a political solution. I want it to be a valid long-term solution for Iran. And we have to also accept that there's the possibility that political pressure means we might not. And that's not a good thing. We need to voice our opinions now. But that doesn't mean that we, like Gary, the point that you've been making a lot, it doesn't mean you do a 180 on the whole movement, because we've expected perfection from Donald Trump ever since day one. And that is a stupid way to look at it. It's a stupid way to say the guy's going to bat 1,000. He's not. So are we going to focus on yes, deal with these problems as well. We got to walk and chew gum at the same time, but we do have midterms. We do have another election, and we've got a motivated and very cohesive, even though Bronson, I know you've talked about some of the divisions on the left. When it comes time to vote, they vote together. They say, fine, we'll go out here and we'll say, oh, socialism. No, not socialism. Okay, I'll walk an easy step on the woke stuff or on the LGBT, the transgenderism with the kids and all that. I'll toe the line. Yeah. But when ballots are cast, they cast them together. And that's what we have to fight against. So
if you are a Trump voter, if you are a MAGA voter, and you were completely upset with what happened during the Biden administration, whether it was weaponizing the DOJ, the COVID lockdowns, the mass surveillance, the FISA warrants that were going against Trump, all of those things that you rightfully should be upset. If you're upset about that, but now you're looking at this war and you're saying, you know what, I am going to go vote for the Democrats, or I'm just not going to vote. You are a fool. You are a fool, because you're ushering in something so much worse. These morons that continue to say there's no difference between the left and the right, that is a talking point and a false narrative of the left that they get stupid Republicans to believe. That's what that is. Bronson, what you got on that?
What you got, brother?
I think when it comes to that, people just have incredibly too high of expectations when it comes to voting and elections. And we've talked about it before, this idea of having instant gratification that, like, well, I went out and voted and my team won, so now everything's going to be fixed and it's all going to be great. And the moment that it doesn't happen, I give up, I quit. Obviously, this is all rigged. It's all fake. We have to get out of that mentality. I don't know how we get out of that mentality, but we have to get away from that. It's a long, slow burn.
Well, Jared said something about people acting in good faith or something along those lines. It's not just that. It has to be informed, because that's where these false narratives and these psychological operations and everything that we're talking about, that's where it thrives in ignorance. And when you get you're getting your current event analysis, or you're getting geopolitics from people like Candace Owens and Ian Carroll, you are setting yourself up for failure, folks. Those are nothing but propagandists.
Well, that all comes down to personal responsibility.
It does. Like you gotta branch out and get some real information, and not just propagandized narratives.
No, to think that there's no difference between the left and the right. If they want to make the argument that because we see Congress always coming together when, the uniparty thing. Sure, make that argument. That's fine. That's not the left and the right. No. The left and the right is the people in this country. It's the pockets of people that are moving far too left to the point of radicalization. That is the ideology. The ideology is the people, the boots on the ground that's happening. It's not what's in Congress. So when you vote, you absolutely help dictate where the culture goes. I don't know if I'm going to bring it up anyway. Nick Fuentes made an interesting point the other day.
He's made some interesting points lately, quite a bit.
So when the left, when Biden was in power and the left had control, whatever happened, he made the argument that it moved the culture more to the right. Mm-hmm. That's all fine and well. You could make an argument for that. But what happens when that culture moves to the right and now the right has power and they're not doing everything that everybody thought they were going to do? Doesn't that then just in turn move the culture back more to the left? So we just have this constant sway of moving back and forth. And for some reason, progressive left ideology continues to seem like it wins out when it comes to a lot of the laws that we pass, a lot of the policies that we pass. But for whatever reason, the right, we just can't get shit done, it would seem.
Yeah. And
I don't understand why that is.
Well, we've always had a pendulum, though. I mean, when it comes,
but it's tilted. It's not tilted to the right. We aren't becoming a more conservative country.
No.
We're becoming a more and more liberal country.
Yeah, we've caved to the left consistently, and a lot of that happens in, it does happen in Congress. I mean, that's our elected representatives cave to the left, and we never cave towards the right. We never cave towards conservatism. So that's why a lot of people, if you're on kind of that doomer side, it's like, well, follow the course of history of how our elected representatives have voted. It has gotten us, from a fiscal standpoint, we're always voting to spend more money. That's a very Democrat thing, right? Is spending money on social programs and entitlements and all of this. We always cave to the left because that government spending gets votes. We need the politicians. This is why I was for, like the SAVE Act, when they said, oh, it's not going to happen. We're not going to fight something that we're not going to win. No, the part of our problem is voting reform, I guess you would say, in Congress. Everything. I want to know exactly how everybody votes on this stuff. Don't say that there's a bill that we can't get passed, so we're not even going to try. No, you do it, because if we want a list of people that need to be primaried, that's where all that stuff starts. So we need somebody who's got some guts as either the majority leader or the Speaker of the House to force this stuff. And that's where the process is as well. That, look, people who are okay getting out there and ready to have all the skeletons in their closet exposed to the world, that are principled people, hey, go run for office. If you have what it takes to be an elected representative. I'm being too idealistic, but
no, I think you're not being idealistic enough. I think that is the characteristics of people that are on the right. Like, we don't like to be out there. And the fact is that the left, think about how the country has progressively become more progressive than leftist, right? And it's mainly through the courts, for instance, like something like Obamacare. The thing is that the Democrats have been looking at the long game, and they've been thinking strategically instead of tactically. And the Republicans are always thinking tactically in like one election ahead. They're thinking decades, and they're thinking about making sure that there's prosecuting attorneys and things like that. George Soros funding low level from mayors to state representatives. Like, we're not even thinking at that level. And then filling the courts up with activist judges. That's how we end up losing all this stuff. Obamacare, clearly not a tax. You're being forced to purchase something that you don't want to participate in. You don't get to keep your doctor. And then we go up there and freaking retard John Roberts says it's a tax. Like, we have lost through the court time and time. We don't ever lose the argument. We don't ever lose the argument. The arguments and the facts of the matter, we always win. Like, hey, this just makes the country worse. This just puts us more in depth. But we lose on the national scale because they have attacked this holistically. And we're talking about, we need to get rid of Lindsey Graham. Yeah, we do. But that's really not the problem here, folks. Think big picture here. And that's why we continue to lose, because quite frankly, the Democrats are out maneuvering us, and they're willing to do things that most Republicans in office wouldn't be willing to do, including all the things that Obama did, including all the things that Joe Biden did. Signing signing executive orders that are highly illegal, but yet they get confirmed in courts. And by the way, not only do they get confirmed in courts, when President Trump gets in office and tries to completely, just get rid of that executive order, that's held as unconstitutional by a court, an executive order. That is, that's at the purview of the president. Like, if he wants to get rid of that, he should be able to do that. It's an executive order. A president signed it into policy. And now he's trying to rid us of that policy. And they're like, nope, can't do that. Activist judges, time and time again. That's how we're losing this country.
That's a good point.
Like, the Democrats will pull out all the stops. And here we are. And this goes back to, which is another lie, that Donald Trump's not getting anything done. Folks, he's done so much in the last 18 months. It's unbelievable, to be honest with you. I was just watching an interview with one of the lead CBP guys. Right now, they're on track to deport more people by August than they did all of last year, which we had record level deportations last year. So they're deporting it more. The mass deportations, you can't just go around and, like, mass deportations is a great thing to say. Just from a logistics standpoint,
it's a nightmare.
It's very hard to do. We don't have the infrastructure and the personnel to do that, but he's getting it done. There was 3.5 million self-deportations once President Trump came into office. So, and by the way, the border's closed. And by the way, prosecutions are happening left and right for all kinds of things. And there's other investigations taking place behind the scenes. A lot going on. Let's do this. Let's jump into some questions and super chats. I cannot wait for this live. So excited.
All right.
Obscure moderator, 3 bald guys. Gary, let's talk about Arty's great hair.
There they go. There they go.
Delana Joan became a YouTube member. Folks, if you haven't done so already, again, make sure you like, subscribe.
Please.
Most importantly, go down in the description below, become a member. That helps support our channel, but also make sure you go follow all these other guys and go become a member and support them on their channels and on their X. I offer subscriptions. I think they do too. So go support the people that are telling the truth. That's what we need. And by the way, the other thing that you can do right now that will help all of us is share this content. Share this content and help us recruit more people that are out there looking for the truth. I love Jay Whit's facial expressions when something is just done. Bro thought he was scoring above his league, then she gave her opinion. I don't know what that was referencing. That was at 8:14 p.m. Oh, she's talking about the Candace video, the Candace cult video, the lady talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, about the tunnels, the trap doors.
Yes, yes.
Man, she's hot. I should spend my life with her. All the culties have Christian in their bio, seem to forget that they have to answer to the man upstairs one day and don't even consider what if they're wrong. They don't. They are so convinced that they're right. And I think that's the difference. I know it's the difference. I've changed my opinion many times throughout this. And I've been open with you guys when I have changed my opinion on that. And I think that's the difference between everybody here is, like, we're not pushing an agenda. Like, we're just following the evidence. Yeah, I think everybody would here agree that if suddenly we had evidence that Tyler Robinson wasn't the shooter, I'd be all, just show me some evidence. Don't talk about your feelings. Don't talk about what you think or your opinions, or because, Erica Kirk wore sparkly pants. It's all a conspiracy. Like, give me some freaking evidence. And by the way, stop lying. Like, if you want to bring where we can start talking to each other and figuring out our differences like normal Americans, stop freaking lying. Just stop lying about the nonsense. But there's too many people that are too financially incentivized to do so. So I don't know that that's going to ever happen. Yeah. Why is it more believable to these people that a hologram, trapdoor, exploding mic, B-cult Freemasons, and the guy in the video on the roof with a rifle who confessed several times, shaking my head, my brain hurts. I'm with you.
I don't know if it even is necessarily that it's more believable. I think it might just be more fun for people.
It is. It is. They like to Candace's credit, she's created an entire new genre of entertainment. And that's this murder mystery, choose your own adventure. You get to participate. It's a virtual the virtual investigation, and she's deputized you to go out there and find information for her because, you know, she is just beaten. She's gone through so many pairs of shoes out on the beat looking for, investigating, climbing up on rooftops like Spider-Man to figure out if this was real or not. Like the amount of work that Candace has put into this just physically. She deserves all the vacation. She deserves twice as many vacations.
You were there, Gary. Do you think she could get on that roof in a pair of Gucci shoes?
Yeah, you can, because you just step over the rail and you're on the roof. Like there's, you go up a walkway, you're on a public walkway, the walkway in between buildings, and you step over the rail, and then you move 100 feet, and you're in the shooting position. Like there's
Gary,
yes.
What's your take? How come there wasn't any type of security at that staircase, making sure while Charlie Kirk was there that people weren't walking up that staircase? How is that possible?
I think they just underestimated. I mean, Charlie Kirk is not the president. I mean, they weren't expecting this. People could say, "Oh, this happened. How could this happen after Butler?" It wasn't President Trump. I mean, we don't really have a precedent for this since Martin Luther King. So, you know, his security detail was concerned about the perimeter and was really concerned about the 3,000 people that were 15 feet, which, you know, probably around 150 to 300 of them were armed, by the way. And I think it was a complete lapse on the UVU security. But I mean, it's always easy to question these things and do the hindsight 2020 freaking, you know, armchair security guy.
Were there two sets of UVU security? Like UVU had their own, but then Orem PD, were they also there? No. Or did Orem come after?
UVU PD. So they have their own police department. There's like 42 employees. I think there's like 15 cops or more. And they had like 2 guys up there. So they just underestimated the threat. I mean, it happens all the time, unfortunately. And, you know, I'm sure they've had plenty of, I mean, Charlie Kirk was there before. He probably didn't even have a security team at that point. So, you know, again, hindsight's 2020, and I understand why people are frustrated. I think everybody is, but here's the other, like, we can get rid of that one vulnerability in 10 more %. I mean, really, if I was planning this attack, I mean, I would have the same attack that they do all over the South America and Mexico. They're going to wait for somebody to pull out. They see Charlie Kirk pull out in his vehicle, go to the first stop sign. As soon as he stops, either stand in front of him or create a distraction to stop the vehicle and then shoot up the vehicle. Like, you can come up with 50 different scenarios where Charlie Kirk could have been killed. If there was anybody on that rope line on the very front, you got like 5 or 6 security guys. There's, you know as well as I do, Bronson, I could get a gun out and shoot Charlie Kirk from 15 feet away before they would even be able to react. I mean, the reality is that especially close protection and anything outside of an entire secret service detail is just a deterrent. It's like, oh, there's security there, I shouldn't do anything. It gives the impression or the perception that there's real security when every second is presenting a new vulnerability. I mean, the other part of this is, like, there's plenty of windows that were
a lot of windows,
all over the place. That if he'd have been able to get into a room, he would have been able to open up a window or shoot through a window and kill Charlie Kirk. What are they supposed to do? Is the security team or UVU supposed to occupy every single one of those empty buildings, empty rooms? I mean, Secret Service would. They would have that entire floor searched, secured, locked down. And Secret Service, every single venue, sometimes more, but every single venue that the president goes to is multi-million dollars each. And, you know, we're talking about a security team that probably had a budget of like $2 or $3 million per year, going to hundreds of venues, or at least, you know, close to 100. I think Brian Harple told me we went to like 80 venues a year. So, you know, there's no comparison.
Sure. I still just struggle with it because as far as deterrents go, I feel like you look at the most obvious places to put a deterrent first and then work your way down from there. And it just seems like that staircase to a rooftop is a pretty obvious place to put a deterrent.
I'm with you. And I think it was an oversight. There's no doubt about it. I just don't think anybody, not a single person, had, you know, a long range shooter as part of the security matrix and our vulnerability assessment. Just, I don't think they were thinking that way. There's just no real precedent for it outside of trying to kill a president. They will now. Everybody will now. I think a lot of things are going to change from the security world. For sure. Great collab, gentlemen. Team Ginger, thank you very much. Disney up, Boiler up. Can this please be a weekly stream with you all? Yeah, we'll talk about that. I'll talk with them maybe weekly or bi-weekly. I think that's something that we'll see. I'm definitely down if they are. Paved over to discourage weirdos from executive. Yeah, and on top of that, to reduce, look, there's clear procedures. Somebody was just sharing a document with me, another investigative journalist was sharing documents. And by the way, he allegedly has meeting minutes from UVU. And they were talking about this entire thing and why they ended up paving this over. This was a trauma mitigation thing. And by the way, this is very common. They knew they had to pull up the soil. There was lots of blood. That is normal to get rid of any sort of biohazard. And of course, now they're left with a bunch of sod torn up. And their idea was to beautify the area, change it up a little bit to reduce trauma. You can buy that or not. I think that's very reasonable from my perspective. And I think most objective people would agree with that.
Yeah, I made this point in a video I did. It's the same idea if you have some type of unaliving at a house.
Yeah.
And it's like after the investigation's done, the people who own that house aren't going to just leave the mess in case they have to come back and like you're going to clean that up. It's the same thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely. One thing that I was kind of looking into, did they actually pave it over or did they just lay pavers down?
Pavers down. There was no concrete, and that's another like there's two things that are incorrect. Number one, it happened like the day after. Didn't happen.
Right.
He was killed on what? Tuesday or Wednesday?
Tuesday. It was a Tuesday, I think.
Didn't happen until Sunday. All right. So they had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. All right. They were down there doing all of the forensic processing of that entire scene, which was a lot. And then it was Sunday that they decided to, they called the guy on Saturday evening or something like that, or Sunday morning. I don't know. But it's like, hey, look, we need this done. And it makes perfect sense. So it wasn't actually any concrete. They put pavers down. I've seen it. I got videos of it. There was no tunnels. All right. There's 2 utility hatches that control the water features. I saw those. And by the way, those were exposed the entire time. While Charlie Kirk was on stage, you can see them off to the right, his left, stage right. Or stage left, technically, but the viewer's right.
I haven't heard any arguments as to what people think that they might be trying to cover up, other than just, well, they're covering up.
That's a good question. Yeah.
But what could they be covering up that they couldn't have just done by going out and picking trash up or mowing the grass or spraying some stuff to wipe something down?
The narrative now is that they were covering up the fact that there was an explosion.
Yeah, but why would they need to lay pavers to cover up the fact that there was an explosion?
And when
like you're looking at debris, you just clear that up.
They want to get rid of all possible trace of explosives and or any of the debris from the explosion.
But you could do that without laying pavers, right?
It doesn't have to make sense.
Okay, all right. just making sure.
It doesn't have to make sense.
In fact, I would think there's probably an easier, cheaper way to do that.
Yeah, I don't disagree. All right, for the PB on French toast, fun for Jared and Jay Whit. Bronson?
Yeah, what's up with that, man? I got to hit my 100,000, man.
So, Jay Whit, peanut butter on French toast, yes or no?
I'm going to try it. I haven't hit 100,000, remember? I was going to do it. That's it. So I'm going to come back until I hit 100,000. I'm just going to keep coming back until I hit 100K. That's it.
Everybody go follow Jay Whit. He deserves to have 100K, as does everybody here. Make sure you guys all go follow. Everybody that's watching now and in the future, go follow these gentlemen. Give them a subscription. It costs you nothing. Help a brother out.
Free 99.
Arty.
I'm going to do it at 10, by the way. So when I hit 10, that's when I'll.
I love it.
So that's it. Maybe we'll hit that about around the same time. We'll do a live stream together. We'll both eat
a live stream.
French toast party. Everybody will have peanut butter and French toast. Arty, peanut butter and French toast, yes or no?
Oh, yes.
Jared, yes or no?
I mean, I haven't tried it yet. So I don't know. I really don't know. Sounds like it could work, but I don't know. I was on when you did it, Gary.
Oh, was that the episode?
Yeah, that was the episode. I was on that one.
It was good. It was good. That's Bronson starting his own cult. Where do y'all think Candace is on vacay? Has she said where she's going on vacay? I believe she said I think she's going to Europe, right?
I think it was Spain.
Spain, that's it.
Not sure what for. Well, I think we'll find out.
Who knows?
Can they keep her though?
She's meeting Putin there.
Yeah.
If he was murdered and we knew not what happened, they would keep the SUV longer, but he was assassinated, so it's different. Yes. Yeah, that's the other part of this too, is it's quite obvious what happened there. You're also 100% paid by TPUSA too. Remember, absolutely. I get paid by TPUSA, the DO Department of War, and the Jews.
Wow.
I mean, I'm freaking rolling.
Are they hiring?
Yeah.
Which ones?
Yes.
Yeah.
We have 4 logical men on. What the heck is happening? We actually have 5 now. Arty wasn't here.
Here we go.
5 now.
I don't know. I might be down to take some of that Qatari money. That sounds pretty good.
Right?
Yeah.
Billions. Here's some
I
money.
was just rooting for Egypt myself, but
Here's
gotta
some
go
money.
the underdog.
Here's some money since Arty is out gathering instead of joining the knights at the round table. Well, he arrived. He has arrived.
He's arrived. He's in the building.
I want to be on another one with Arty because I was really looking for. I've watched Arty's videos for a while. I was like, yeah, man, I'm all amped up for Arty to be on. I hate that you were late. It's a bummer.
I'm sorry, man.
Yet everybody's sad, Arty.
I agree.
I think
that
what it
really
is
sucks.
You know what? I think the only thing that's logical, Arty, is that you just go ahead and get your dance card out and go ahead and get Jared, get myself, get Bronson on the dance card so we can know when we come on the show. There you go. That fixes the problem.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Question. The alleged text from Tyler Robinson family current being shared. Do these remain an anonymous source? It is very likely someone in the family is pushing back, perhaps a Candace fan. Yes. And just so everybody knows what he's talking about, you guys are aware of these texts, right? Diligent Denizen put out.
Oh, yeah. The Diligent stuff. Yeah. Hey, speaking of Diligent Denizen, Gary, do you remember that video he put out with that? It showed it at UVU. It looked like he maybe found a couple of blood spots and he was hitting them with UV light and they were glowing. Do you remember that video?
Kind of.
Okay. He deleted that. I would like him, Diligent, if you see this, please put that video back up. I'd like to see that video again.
I want to try to
fake
find
grifting
real quick.
D-bag.
Yeah, what a turd that guy is. Let me search text just so that everybody knows what we're talking about. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, wasn't that from like a friend of Tyler's or something like that?
The problem is we don't know.
Yeah, right. Well, alleged.
Shocker, right? We're not sure. So this is the text. All right. So just to be clear, Tyler told his dad, Matt, that he did not kill Charlie Kirk. That is correct. Of course, we have no idea who this, again, anonymous sources, unverifiable information. Does Tyler's parents think he killed Charlie? No. Did the parents call the bishop because they thought Tyler was guilty or out of fear of safety? First of all, they didn't call a bishop. I don't know where this keeps getting pushed. This has never been said anywhere. They called the friend of the family that was he was a former detective for the sheriff's office. For some reason, this is being pushed. Even Nate from VFT, he said the exact same thing. So I think this was something that got pushed out by Candace or somebody else early on and just became adopted. But there's absolutely no evidence or anything that's ever been said by any official sources that said they called a religious leader. That was even addressed specifically by the sheriff from Washington County. So
She's 3 by 7 Bronson.
Again, you have to make sure to include the suspenseful music. Like
The suspenseful music is crazy.
Really helps me.
Oh yeah, like
I mean,
really sucks me in.
If that doesn't convince you, if that's not hard evidence that you can't argue against, then I don't know what is. I mean, that's rock solid there. That's like saying that the bomb dogs missed the rifle, which we know is total crap. All right. Did you see Andrew Wilson's video today about TPUSA and tackling conspiracies? I did see that. And I think Bronson even reposted that, didn't you?
I haven't watched it yet.
Okay. Biology always wins. Thank you for the gift in one Paramount Tactical membership. There's somebody out there.
Yeah.
Two of them. Thank you very much. Biology always wins. We appreciate you. David became a YouTube member. Thank you for your service, David.
Shout out to you, David.
EOD. All right. I bet you'd have something to say about the exploding mic. Jen, what was the craziest thing each has heard on your show? Remember, everyone go vote. You can only vote once unless you're a Democrat. Dan Bongino, May 2026. So make yours count. I plan on voting early and often. Possibly can. What is the craziest? I'm going to think about that. Anybody know?
Yeah, that was a good one. Goodness.
Tough question.
That is a hard one. There's been a lot of crazies.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
There's two things that stand out in my mind, and both of them are from Candace Owens. One of the things I can just never get over is Macabre. That is one of the craziest things I've ever heard from Macabre. It's pronouncing macabre as Macabre. Like
Macabre.
How do you say that on your show multiple times and no one corrects you on that? The other thing too that I still think is one of the craziest, dumbest things, and yet it's extremely effective, is Candace constantly framing the entire Tyler Robinson thing as, do you believe that he has to be Spider-Man to scale the roofs like Spider-Man?
Yes.
Like, that whole thing. And when I saw what was actually going on with that, because I had questions and like, how did this guy get on the roof? I had people in comments before I went out there saying, look, I've been to UVU. You have to have a special card that's an electronic card and get access key to the rooftops. Literally people saying, I worked at UVU. This makes no sense. We'll come to find out they had to be lying. And that's the thing that really piqued my attention on all of this at the very beginning. Like day 2, when I put out a video saying, look, I'm not sure what's going on with Tyler Robinson or what killed Charlie Kirk at this point, but what I can tell you for sure, it wasn't a palm gun. And the way that I got attacked,
palm gun, I forgot about that.
The way that I got attacked, or the next day, like, folks, it wasn't an iPhone gun. I don't know what this kid is doing with his hand, but that is not an iPhone gun. And by the way, neither the palm gun or the iPhone gun have any sight radius. There's no way to aim and hit Charlie. And by the way, there was an energy dump on Charlie that can't be accounted for with a low caliber pistol. And by the way, there was no muzzle flash. There's no recoil. There's nothing between Rick Cutler's fingers. And the way that I got attacked just for saying those, like, you're a Fed, you're like, immediately also, it was like, you're paid by the Jews. You're paid by Israel. Like, what? Like September 12th, 13th, 14th. So what's the craziest thing you guys have heard on the channel?
I've got two things.
Okay, go ahead.
I've got two. One's really not there. There's one crazy, but then the other one would be the thing that's made me bang my head the most on my desk. And the thing that makes me bang the head most on my desk was the argument about the stock photo.
Yes.
For whatever reason, that kept popping back up. Yep. And I don't understand why that caught on the way that it did.
It had
just looking at that photo, you could tell it wasn't a stock photo.
Yeah, and not only did it keep popping up, but that kept being repeated over and over. And it had to, because that immediately undermined the entire investigation. That talking point and the fake bomb dogs, those are, and the other one that's big on this is the thing that Baron Coleman is pushing, trying to say that Tyler Robinson was in custody at 6:25 p.m. on September 11th. Those are three critical components of this that all three point to some sort of conspiracy, that it wasn't the right gun. It, you know, his gun was actually a World War I relic. There's no way that number one, the idea here is that he couldn't have used this relic of a gun to kill Charlie Kirk. So they had to undermine that right off the bat and destroy that so they could push this conspiracy narrative. The same thing with Candace Owens talking about the bomb guns, bomb dogs. That was really important so that she could implicate the FBI in planting evidence. And then lastly, we have Baron Coleman. This is a key talking point. We have to say that the Discord chats, that confession is fake. And the way that we're going to do that is say that Tyler Robinson was already in custody on September 11th at 6:25 p.m. So the 7:57, the time that was sent, that was, I guess, by a sheriff's deputy that took his phone. Because even Barron doesn't even state that there was federal law enforcement there by 7:57. So it had to be a sheriff's deputy, I guess, or some CIA operative. That's why that was so critical.
Craziest thing is that there's no difference between the left and the right.
I agree.
So I'm gonna jump in. I'm gonna do mine real quick. And they're Candace, and I can't. I've been on YouTube for almost 6 years, so this is the best I can remember. Candace and the assassination plot email. I'm sorry, that thing is the crazy. I'm sorry. The fact that people still believe that, and she clearly lied in 4K, and then lastly, doxing her own attorneys. That right there, those two right there are probably they're definitely in the top 10 of some of the craziest things I've heard on my channel. Those two right there.
I love it when I get into arguments about the French Foreign Legion $1.5 million assassination plot. And they always ask, what's your evidence that it's not true? It's like, watch her show yesterday?
She's on vacation.
It's a $1.5 million assassination plot, and she's just still doing live shows.
Did they get a refund? Like, how does that work?
What's your evidence? It's not true. She's still talking.
Yeah.
Well, that, and she's still traveling. She's just traveling all over the place. She's jet setting all over the place. Since this has been quote unquote revealed, I think it's been like 5 trips. Like 5 trips since she allegedly uncovered the French assassination plot. It's crazy work.
She talked about the French assassination plot. She turned off the camera and she headed out the door to Dollywood. And we have no evidence. We have no evidence, by the way, that she ever communicated that threat to any federal agency. Zero. Like,
police.
I would at least show you, hey, you know what? Here's the evidence that I actually requested help and I sent this in. And then I would show you, I would screen grab the response to that. And she even says, like, oh, what am I lying about that? That would be a crime if I reported them was it true. We don't know if you reported it or not. We don't know if you reported it or not. We don't even have that. And you don't even give us those receipts. You got 0 receipts. You know what? That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. That Candace brings receipts, actually. That's the
that's another
craziest thing I've ever heard. I get no receipts for anything. Not a single receipt. I just want to see one receipt. Doesn't have to be a CVS receipt. I just want a little receipt from like the gas station. I
just want to clarify, I'm not advocating for anything like that to happen to Candace. I don't support an assassination plot on Candace as much as I disagree.
Gosh, no.
I hope she has a very long and wonderful life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Arty, what's the craziest thing you've ever heard?
Well, I kind of got 2. One of them, well, it's like 1.5. One I'm going to send you a picture of real quick on your X.
Okay.
And if you wanted to kind of bring that up and look at it, I was just kind of curious. What do you think those students are standing on that Candace Owens happens to be looking at? Just kind of funny, in my opinion.
It says unknown attachment. This attachment isn't supported yet. I don't know what you sent.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it was just a screenshot. Maybe I could just
you can share it on your side.
You can share it
here. Let's see if I remember how to do that.
You hit present.
Is it this button? Yeah. I think I can do share screen, and we can do, I think, that right there.
Look at you.
Did that do anything?
Look at you. Hold on. Let me remove. What do I got here?
You're fancy, man. You guys are fancy.
Let's see what we got there. What is that those kids are all standing on?
Oh my gosh.
Is that the roof?
That is essentially the roof. I think it's the deck below the roof, but on this particular one. But yes, essentially it is the roof.
I wonder if the guys wearing red were also Spider-Man.
Yeah, look at those maroon shirts.
They-
Yeah.
all those, I can't believe
All these Spider-Men. Look at all that. That's kind of wild. They're all
There's
there
no way
watching
home.
Charlie Kirk.
Brand new day.
It,
Yeah, it just didn't seem like it was too hard, in
No.
my opinion. There,
it is
but
hard at all.
I like that
I think
one.
I clicked.
Well done.
Don't know if I clicked the right button or not, but let's see. Oh, I stopped screen sharing, didn't I?
Hold on.
Or did I kick myself out?
I was looking at another one altogether. Oop, there we go.
Oh,
Go.
sorry about that.
There we go. Shout out.
The actual one that just gets me by surprise really was I can't really pick a certain scene out of it because it was all just too crazy. But the whole Hunter Biden interview, I can't get over that. Glazing him is
That was crazy.
Oh,
yeah, that was completely nuts. Like she actually brought a legitimate crackhead into her home. How do you justify that?
Well, he's a recovering crackhead.
Yeah. Give him
Well,
some,
I'm sure he's recovering. He's making up for a lot of lost time.
well, that was very strategic as well. Both having him on and Anna Kasparian. She's trying to branch out her audience. She's trying to get across the aisle a little bit, and also kind of shed the idea that she's a conservative. That's what's important to her, because all
very
the
much so.
followers don't care where she is politically, but what she's trying to do is she's trying to garner more support from the center and the left for sure, and let everybody know that she's not the crazy conservative that she once was, that we all enjoyed. She actually had common sense takes at one point. Jared, craziest things.
Yeah, so the French Foreign Legion, that was the one that, deep breath and just kind of looking down like, oh my Lord, what in the world am I listening to right now? But there was, and I've been sitting here trying to recollect everything that was included. It was a chat, actually. It was a chat that somebody sent me who was a very pro Candace person, and they hit all the big things. I mean, it was 5G, the frequencies, the MK, and it was this diatribe. And I remember looking at it thinking, oh my Lord, this person, you could tell they actually believed what they were typing, but I can't remember all the things that they pegged into it. And it was just one thing right after another. This was early on. My channel was significantly smaller back then. And the guy spammed me with some of the weirdest stuff I've ever read in my life. It was wild. I wish I could remember all of it, but that one stands out.
Well, speaking of weird things in the chat, Oliver, first of all, I'm sure you're a bot, probably a Russian bot, Chinese bot, Iranian bot. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
Anybody that can be convinced that Charlie's mic exploded, you can be convinced of anything. It is less plausible and less believable than flat Earth. At least there's some good, like I've watched some of these weirdos on YouTube. They'll give you a very compelling presentation on why the Earth is flat, and then they go out and they try to do these scientific experiments, and they prove themselves wrong, and then they come up with reasons of why their experiment was flawed. It's pretty funny to watch. But again, the dumbest people on Earth, like the exploding mic, is an IQ test, and if you believe
for sure,
you failed. You failed. I don't know what to say.
I enjoyed going down the flat Earth rabbit hole some years back. That was fun.
I never went down I just wanted to see what the arguments were. And I will tell you that I enjoyed the content because I'm laughing the whole time. I'm like, all right. I see what's going on here.
I think Eric Dubé. I think he was like the main guy. I remember Owen Benjamin really went down that rabbit hole too.
Oh, yeah.
He was during his crash out.
He crashed out hard. Good gracious.
Isn't Candace on the flat Earth train? I think she kind of is on the flat Earth train.
I have no idea.
I think so. I think so.
I don't think she'll come out and admit it, but I'm pretty sure she's there. I just want to be number 2 now. Sorry, Storm Pooper. Love you guys. Ate pancakes with peanut butter today. I respect Jay Whit's wife, but I asked if it's okay for him to say, "Baby, it's warm outside," and she say, "Oh hell yes! Keep up the good fight, guys, all of you."
Oh, appreciate it.
Peanut butter with pancakes is an acceptable substitute.
I'm game. I'm game.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I didn't see this. You see the podcast Mitch was on saying he caught a remote control spy bug in his house. I don't know.
No.
Edie, house
in the building.
We gotta have Edie back on pretty soon. Once I saw EK as a human being, the narrative fell apart within a week of the State of the Union. I was anti-Candace. Yeah. Good to see all you brothers on a panel together. It's good to have everybody together. This was a fun episode, and it always is. God bless you bunches. Thank you, Petrino.
Thank you, Petrino.
When people are out there spewing views that are so malicious that innocent people are hurt by it, we must stand hard against it. I agree. And it's not just that people are, obviously people like Erica Kirk and other people that are, and Brian Harpole, who's going to get rich off Candace. I can't wait. Not only are these people actually getting hurt and their reputations destroyed, on top of that, the political impacts that are taking place here are just as serious, if not worse, because now we're talking about a movement at a national level where we have millions and millions of people saying essentially, don't vote in the midterms. Donald Trump's as bad as Biden, and that's a real problem. That is a significant problem. And folks, look, I 100% realized that the perception on social media and reality are very different. This became very clear to me with the Massey loss, that all of these podcasters, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, all these people said that he was going to win hands down, and he lost bigly as Donald Trump. So that was refreshing for me.
Candace is in Tennessee, right?
She is.
Yep.
Yeah.
Don't Tennessee and Kentucky have beef? Maybe they just don't like Candace in Kentucky.
Maybe. But it was refreshing to see that the narratives that felt very real, that Thomas Massey, and there's this huge support behind Candace Owens. Like, it was refreshing to see that that's not true. With that being said, they only have to demoralize. They don't have to demoralize very many people, and they don't have to convince very many people for us to lose the midterms. And that can have a massive effect. And let me tell you something: if we lose the midterms, we almost certainly will lose 2028, because they will impeach Donald Trump. They will batter Donald Trump for the next 2 years. Like the pendulum's going to swing the other way. So
yeah,
hopefully
he becomes a lame duck at that point, and then the same people who started attacking him 3 months after he took office are going to be saying we were right, even though they are the movement that kept us from winning the midterms, which would have allowed him to continue with 2 more years.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Name calling can be sinful at times. Other times it can be blunt, necessary. Honesty, mean is a matter of opinions, but so is nice. Yeah, look, I think that Candace Owens is evil. I really do, and I have no problem.
No question there.
Yeah. We all get a little excited sometimes, especially on X and other places. Nate Mattel states most of the time the debates never change their minds, but the viewers may change their mind. That's what's important. Oh, that's 100% true. I actually asked Nick that last time he was here, like, do you feel like that you shouldn't debate people if they're not acting in good faith, or at least grounded in reality? And he thought about it for a while, and he was basically, I think he was on the fence. I mean, he basically said, yeah, that's probably a good policy to have, to be honest with you. But he does it for content, and I think he realizes that, and that's fine. I think there's merits to both. I think you just got to be careful with that. You're not without hope unless the Lord gives you to your sinful desires. I assume everyone can be reached, even if they tell me they can't be. That's important. That's important.
Yeah.
To realize. Like, and I think it's important I have to remind myself, folks, you guys know, and you guys get the same thing. I get hammered on X. I get hammered on YouTube. Our views are not where they used to be. I mean, it's just a fact. They've dropped off dramatically, and I knew that was going to happen when we started going after Candace. I knew it. I actually thought it was going to be worse. That being said, it's good to remember that we're reaching the people that we're supposed to reach, even if it's not the numbers that we want. The point is what else are you going to do? You can get on here and tell a lie. You're going to get on here and talk about things that you don't think matter, just for views and clicks. I'm not. And if I had 10 people in the audience, it's the right 10 people. And I do think, regardless, when we sit there and even I'm sitting here kind of hand wringing, like, should we debate these people or whatever else? Ultimately, if you are acting in good faith, and by the way, you're acting under what God wants you to do, your efforts will be multiplied and you will reach exactly the right people. And, I think we need to keep that in mind. So that's thank you, Mike Klikovich. Sounds like an alias.
I don't even know if it needs to be debate. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be confrontational, just good, honest discussion.
No, and that being said, I've offered, number one, we've had a lot of people on the show. Blake Bednar, Kelly Rabone, trying to think of that other guy that said the Bushman killed him. Can't think of a bunch.
I forgot about the man in the bush. I forgot about him.
We've had a bunch of people on here, and that invitation is always open. If you're going to come on here and you can talk civilly, and we've had I said his name, Costello on. So again, I'll gladly have those discussions.
Oh,
Zach, yeah. And
wow, yeah.
I think it's good. And I'm willing to engage every single time. Candace Owens and E.O. Carroll are pushing narratives that don't fit the evidence at hand. I think the issue is how long a court case takes in the U.S. justice system creates mistrust, and they are hiding something mentality. I see what you're saying. Yeah, look, they're taking advantage of all this stuff. And the other thing they've had the opportunity to do is create an artificial suspicion. They've put out enough content to say, look what's going on here. And they've been able to frame things and create suspicion that shouldn't exist, that wouldn't exist organically. They've told people, look, this is suspicious. Look what's going on here. Look at, Erica Kirk. They've just beat these people to death. The same thing's been done to me. Like, Gary's paid by TPUSA. Gary's paid by the Department of War. Gary's paid by the Jews. Gary's a Fed. Like, that's all they got. And it's unfortunate. Never addressing the actual arguments I have.
Yeah.
I'm tough. I like skepticism. Like, I'm good with people being skeptical. I think that's healthy. But for some reason, they're overly skeptical. They go too far with it.
Yeah, it becomes a prejudice, right? They prejudge everything, and it becomes a prejudice to where they reject reality and they'll accept something else entirely that's not reality based because they're prejudiced against the source of this information or whatever else going on. We should all be skeptical. We should be skeptical of the people that we watch. We should be skeptical of our government.
But they're only prejudiced against a source that the information's coming from when it doesn't back up their bias.
100%.
You see this all the time. Yeah. Like, if the feds were to come out and be like, oh, it turns out that doesn't match, they would believe the feds on what they report there. But they won't believe them on what they report. You know what I mean?
A great example is when the ATF came out with the ballistics report, said that it was inconclusive. They immediately oh, look at this. This is proof that it doesn't match the gun. That's not what it says at all. But suddenly they love the Fed slop. They love the Fed slop.
Anytime they repost an article from the New York Times or anything, after we've spent years of these same people talking about how these media outlets lie, you can't trust them. Nothing they say is accurate. Unless, of course, it confirms their bias. Then all of a sudden, check out this source.
Well, it was funny. I actually posted this. It was probably about 2 weeks ago. Candace Owen posted a New York Times article. I forgot what the article was, but it's right here where it confirms something that's complete BS. I just went back in her timeline. I was typed in the New York Times. It was the exact same woman who published that article where she said, this is just a propagandist. This woman is crap.
Wow.
Just railed on this woman and said, you shouldn't trust her. But, a couple years later, she's reposting an article by this person. Yeah. So there we go.
Everything in excess is bad, even skepticism.
It's true.
Whether it's booze or skepticism, it's bad in excess.
Wasn't that the same New York Times article that said Charlie was getting yelled at by Trump in the Situation Room? That's the one that has no sources. I think that was the New York Times article.
I don't know. I don't read the New York Times.
Yeah, it was just like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and
I
again, they provided 0 sources.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what it was. I think
Yeah.
that's exactly what it was. That sounds right. I think once the trial starts, we'll see views drop off from the liars. They won't be out there proclaiming they were wrong. I doubt that, to be honest with you. Look, I don't think
Really? Okay.
Yeah, no, I maybe some small drop off. They're going to shift, and you already see them. Like this is going to become a bigger conspiracy.
Yep, they'll get creative for sure.
Yeah, and these people that are already invested in being, it's not just like, oh, I believe what Barron is saying or what Candace is saying. This is now my beliefs, and I am personally vested in this, and I need this to be right. It's now a religion. It's absolutely a religion, because when you're going to believe something in spite of evidence being against it, normally we talk about faith, believing in something without evidence. This is worse. This is more in depth, because you're believing in something in spite of evidence against it, but you've internalized this and you need this to be true so much that you're willing, like they're going to flock to them to some extent. Like, tell us what to think. They just revealed that, Tyler Robinson's parents went up there and said, hey, this is like, it was Tyler. Tell us what to think. They're going to be grasping at straws. So I wouldn't count on that. I wouldn't count on it. Thanks, y'all, for not jumping on the Jew-hating bandwagon.
What do you mean? I hate the Jews.
There you go. There goes Bronson.
And the Jews hate you. I still think we should. I talked to Bibi this morning, and he was upset I was talking to you today. I still think we should put the Army and Marine Corps sniper training schools on the border. Just my opinion. I agree. You won't hear me disagree with that. By the way, I was not implying hurting anyone. However, well-placed shots can and will deter crossings.
I listened to a guy debating that about some of these countries in Europe. These were legitimate people saying, how in the world did they start stopping this? Obviously I'm not an advocate for that, but it's gotten so bad in some countries in Europe. They're starting to debate some extreme measures to stop the crossings, because these countries are straight up lost because it's gotten so bad.
Wow.
Yeah, look, I think this is what we need to do in the United States. This would be a big step to stopping illegal immigration. If you get caught in this country illegally, you are banned for life. You'll never come back legally or otherwise. And then we actually have to enforce it. Or I don't know. Here's a novel idea. Let's just enforce the immigration we have in the books.
Right, the current policies, right.
We're going to add one. I think that should be an amendment somewhere where it's like, hey, you know what? If you're caught in this country illegally, you are never allowed back. I think that would be a good deterrent.
People are all mad at Trump about the wall, and they say, oh, the wall, he hadn't built the whole wall. He should have built the whole wall by now. But he's also shown that you can get to net negative migration without all the wall being built, 100% of the wall, by just using law enforcement and the infrastructure that already existed. Granted, some additional hiring, I guess they've done with CBP and all that, but nonetheless, he's like, we're at net negative. We got millions of people leaving this place just by a change in the administration, and doesn't take a single piece of concrete to be set.
Yeah, like if we can get the same results that we think a wall would give us without spending money on a wall, I think that's good policy. For those of you that are fiscally conservative. Thoughts on Andrew Wilson saying he's partnered with TPUSA to be the official Charlie Kirk conspiracy theorist debate mercenary? Please have him on to discuss. I'd love to have Andrew on. I'll probably reach out to him and talk to him. I think it's great. I think he's talking about going down to TPUSA and has been down to TPUSA to help train people in debate. Look, debate is a skill set. You can have all the facts and all of those things. Like, debate is a skill, and it's something that needs to be developed individually. And I
think they should have done it months ago.
I agree. I don't know what was the predicate for that. If he reached out to them, if they reached out to him, but I'm glad it happened. I think it's a great collaboration. At least President Trump scares the crap out of our enemies. Biden just crapped his pants at the podium. Well, he just turned into Roomba every time he was trying to figure out where to go. Always funny to watch. Charlie,
actually, I wanted to get your take on something quick with this whole JD Vance and Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones kind of thing going on right now.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I said it the other day. I think the more that I sit back and look at what's going on, I think that JD Vance was the Manchurian woke right candidate. I think when you look at JD Vance, his relationship with Tucker Carlson, we see a lot of parallels there. They both hated Trump before he got in office. Suddenly they both liked Trump, and now he's in office, and now he's saying a lot of things that don't make sense to me. I don't trust JD Vance at all right now.
How does that factor in with Charlie Kirk and his relationship with JD Vance?
I mean, it's the same that is a former relationship with Candace Owens or anybody else that are now turned into these woke right people that once had a good relationship with. So I don't really have any issue with that.
Yeah, it's interesting because on this side or whatever, right? A lot of people are not fans of JD Vance, and you're starting to see it on the Candace side. A lot of people are not fans of JD Vance.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what we need is a Rubio Hegseth ticket. That's what I'd like to see.
I personally haven't followed any of that stuff, but I will say that from day one, this is something I can stand on. And the record is very clear. I have been skeptical of JD Vance since day one, simply because he reminded me in how he rose from obscurity, relative obscurity, to become the vice president. It felt very Obama-esque. And that was when that Obama terrified me of the people coming from nowhere. And I felt like JD Vance came from nowhere. And when I talked to my friends and colleagues and other people about it, they would say, "Oh, but I read his book and his book's amazing because his story is great." And I said, "Okay, are we picking the story for a film, or are we picking a leader of one of the potential leaders of the free world? Like, your story and $5 will get you a cup of coffee. It's part of who you are." Yep. But does that mean that, this guy who seemed to be planted in the party should be trusted fully? And to his credit, he's been pretty loyal to Trump. However, on the outside, the Tucker Carlson connections and all of that, just like you're talking about, that is the scheming that JD Vance isn't necessarily part of, but he's not necessarily shutting it down. It benefits him. He's just got to play the loyal to Trump. Meanwhile, these other people are off shaping the narrative in his favor. And that's kind of how I look at it. But I don't know. Do you
think it's working when you say that they're shaping the narrative in his favor?
No.
Because it doesn't appear to be working at all.
No. But
I don't think that Trump really likes JD Vance, to be honest with you. I really don't. And I think what is proof of that is that he tasked JD Vance to go out and sell this MOU, which he did horribly, by the way.
Yeah.
That should have been a Secretary of State role. And I mean, who better could sell it than Marco Rubio? But I think Trump, to some degree, and I don't have any proof of this, it's just me thinking off the top of my head and my perception of this, I think Trump set him up for failure on this. And then the other thing that really kind of solidified this in my mind was the moment that JD Vance had an opportunity to throw Israel under the bus, he did. Look, I don't care how you feel about Israel, but when you only Israel is fighting this war with you, and you literally have planes flying wing to wing, and they're the only ones in this fight with you at all, and you throw them on, like, you can have whatever policy disagreements, operational disagreements, what political differences behind the scenes. You don't do that in the middle of a war against your ally. It's just bad policy, and it didn't make sense to me. And I was like, nope. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. Like, they're the only ones that are going to be there to fight the war. And that's what's going on with this right now. So I think I've come to believe that this was an op from the very beginning. And there was this thing going on with Tucker Carlson. And I think this was planned where JD Vance was going to be the heir apparent. And I've told everybody my Project 32 theory. And that is, Project 32, 2032 theory, where they want to sabotage the midterms. They want to make sure that the Democrats win in 2028. And then this new Republican Party, or this movement that's going to usurp the MAGA movement, this new woke right movement, is going to be the opposition party. And I think JD Vance was supposed to be kind of the heir apparent of that, and I think it's backfired. I don't know. We'll see.
Do you think JD Vance is the guy that Nick Fuentes is talking about that'll step up?
I don't know.
No, Fuentes hates Vance.
Yeah,
he does now. He also said to vote Democrat.
And
well, true.
Give it a month.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah. Very true.
Look, I wouldn't put it past it. Like, let's say they were all conspiring together for this, and this was a big plan. The one thing about Nick Fuentes is he changes with the wind. He has a different opinion about somebody every other day. One minute he hates Candace Owens, the next minute he likes her. One minute he, hates this person, loves it. Like, he's all over the place. And even policy-wise, he's constantly changing like the wind. So it would be nothing to be like, you know what? I actually like JD Vance. I could see him come around. Like, I was against him. Wouldn't that build his credibility? Wouldn't that build JD Vance's credibility if they planned it out? Like,
I don't think so.
You guys know I didn't like him, but now I do like him. That being said, the one thing I do like about Nick Fuentes is he's the only one on their side that's actually honest about who he is fairly. Like, you can, whether or not you believe he's a Fed or not, but he still come out and say the things like, I don't want anyone to vote for Republicans. I want the Democrats to win. Like, you're not seeing Tucker come out and say those type of things, but that is essentially what he's moving towards, right?
Oh yeah.
Well, what bugged me about that one, not to dig too deep into that rabbit hole with it, but it was like the next day or within 48 hours, he was talking about how the Democrats are terrible because they weaponize the DOJ against Donald Trump and how they'll do that against Republicans. And I'm like, wait. I literally, my last show was talking about you telling people to vote Democrat. Now you're talking about how terrible they are. I'm out.
Which, by the way, folks, Jay Whit had to jump out of here unexpectedly, so something was going on. I don't have any other information than that. I'm sure it's fine, but he had to dip out. At least President Trump. I already read that one. Something moved on me. Charlie said Trump kept him out when Autopin wanted to put him in prison. They stalked him. Arctic frost. That's how dangerous he was to their agenda. You better believe it. I mean, Charlie Kirk is the reason, and TPUSA is the reason that Donald Trump is in office right now. He was personally attributed with 2.5 million votes. We beat Kamala Harris by 2.3 million votes. Charlie probably did better than that. And that's exactly why this op is against Charlie Kirk, TPUSA, his legacy. They're trying to destroy it. That's what they want. And that's why I believe that China, Russia, the Democrats, all of them, all of the European, like, they all benefit. Nobody wants Donald Trump in office. Everybody, all of our enemies, both foreign and domestic, are in a better place when MAGA doesn't exist. And that's why they have to go after TPUSA the way that they are. Gary, any ideas how to arm Iranian people without the controversy that surround the Contras or the Bay of Pigs? I have put a lot of thought into this and keep falling short. Yeah, it's actually not that hard. Look, we still have operational control mostly in Iraq. We could send troops to Iraq, send troops to a lot of, just boatloads of weapons and ammunition in the same way that Iran, which I literally watched them on IRSR feeds, ratlining, smuggling in insurgents, EFPs, weapons, rockets, mortars. The way they smuggled in all those weapons, we can smuggle weapons to Iran. And we could secure an area that is from Iraq, 100 miles in, without a doubt we could. And we could even have some training for those fighters, but it's not that hard logistically. Apparently, somebody brought up the Kurds, and Trump said, because it was literally someone in the press that brought, well, are you going to arm the Iranian people through the Kurds? He's like, well, the Kurds really screwed us over on that whole thing. So it sounds like they actually had an operation in place to start doing that through the Kurds, and something went awry. So take that for what it is, but I think it could easily be done.
Yeah, I think so. I wonder if they're weighing like what the chances of success are versus what the cost of it could be.
What do you mean cost?
You can fill in whatever you want for that. You can talk economy, you can talk lives, you can talk potential threats down the road?
Economically, it'd be a lot cheaper than continuing to launch missiles. I mean, somebody look up the cost of a Tomahawk missile. I mean, you can buy a lot of freaking rifles, mortars, and even shoulder launched. Whether we're talking about RPG, we have plenty of RPGs that we could give them. They know how to operate those. The other thing too is like we often forget, like there's a lot of veterans in Iran that are still alive from the Iran-Iraq war. So it's not like we don't have some trained folks out there that would be able to create an insurgency. I don't know. As long as we minimize any American lives or American boots on the ground, I think we could. I don't think it'd be that. I mean, we could literally start flying in and dropping and freaking out of C-130s and just parachute down boxes and boxes of freaking ammunition and weapons. I don't think it'd be that hard at all.
Why do you think that hasn't happened yet?
I don't know.
I think it's just political optics is my thought. I don't know what, and I thought it when Pahlavi was coming out saying, hey, I will tell you when it's time to rise up. I'll tell you when it's time to rise up. Everybody kind of downplayed his involvement in all of that, even though he's still a recognizable figure. And that never happened. It never materialized. And it was probably just we saw the video, whether I'm assuming that the video was accurate, full assumption, but people that were out cheering when they were getting hammered, when the regime was getting hammered, and then they, the IRGC was coming out and shooting at people, like shooting into apartment buildings at the people who were like whooping and hollering. They have an obvious authoritarian control over the people. And just like in, any other country that has a dictator, when they have the weapons, they have the military, they have, the ideologues that are willing to, die for that madness. It's really hard for the people to rise up against it. So even if Pahlavi had come out and said, oh, hey, everybody, now's the time, how many people are, legitimately going to do it? And when if we started dropping pallets of weapons in, there would be an optics thing that would, not saying that should be the decision-making process for all of it, but that was probably, in my assumption, what they were trying to avoid.
Yeah, maybe. And here's the thing, I have an issue with Pahlavi. Like he kept saying exactly like, now's not the time. Like when was the perfect time, Pahlavi? Like I'm not like when we were bombing the crap out of them. So I don't know. And I agree with you. Like when you have 40,000 plus people, protesters killed in the streets by the RGC, that tends to dampen the enthusiasm to rise up. I think we could do that. And I think we could do that fairly inexpensively and by mitigating a lot of risk when it comes to American lives. Maybe I don't know the intel. Maybe they're doing that right now. We don't know. Maybe I'm completely
long term. Like, okay, we do it now and we can fuel something that's going to happen later. But you remember, Gary, when we would do things in, we did it in parts of, Baghdad's a good example, in Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
We would do things to try and offer stability, or we would do things that would, there weren't a lot of people, like there was nobody rising up in Iraq, but when we do something that changes the local power structure, look at like a reconstruction type thing or a rebuilding type thing. Here, let's do power generation for people. We had units doing that. It basically, whoever gets control of it, there's still little factions that can wield local power. So if we drop weapons, if we don't have something that has some sort of a structure there to basically, you know what I'm saying? Like that becomes people that just get armed and then they can take advantage of other people. And I also want to say that, Iran's not an horribly underdeveloped country. So it's a bit different, but.
Yeah, when I had Goldie Gamari on, she talked about this a little bit, and I kind of presented that same issue. And she's like, "Look, we're not Arabs. We're not really Muslims. You're not going to see the same, allegedly. You're not going to see the same power structures or struggle for power that you would see." I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just telling you kind of what she basically implied. Maybe not. Look. It's not a problem.
National identity.
Yeah, they do, and they are very different than the rest of the Arab world. So what I was doing, and she corrected me, was basically projecting my experience with Iraq and Afghanistan onto the Iranian people. And she was like, no, it's different. We're a different culture altogether. And I buy that to some extent. I don't know what would happen, but I think it's worth a try. And I think it could be fairly easily again, we start a bombing campaign, we start providing air support, we start getting the word out and start getting weapons to these people, give them a little bit of training. I don't even know that they need that much training. An insurgent force, and we know we have the most powerful military in the world, and we were getting our asses handed to us left and right through insurgency in Iraq and in Afghanistan. So where there's motivated people, and the difference, according to everyone that I've talked to that is from Iran, is, you know, they keep telling me that 98% of the people, the vast majority of the people in the IRGC even, don't support the IRGC. So if you have let's say that's highly over evaluated, right? Let's say it's 80%. If it's 80% of the country that wants to see the IRGC fall, and we start getting them weapons, I think we're going to see the IRGC fall, especially if we have air support from the United States. The retard halal right thought Charlie placating them to hold the tent together meant he would side with them over Trump. No, he was a pragmatist. I agree with that assessment. The right is petulant, the left is patient. That is a profound assessment, I think very true. That's why they control the institutions. Try to find 20 conservative teachers, professors in your city. Yeah.
Such a good point.
When Gary highlights your comment, I feel like when the teacher would call you to read in class. Well, now I'm just going to sit here and dissect this. Let's see what sentence structure we got going on here. Like, why is there no commas in this thing, Cloudy? Like, what's going on here? We didn't even bother to capitalize this. Let's go. The right also doesn't understand the difference between cancel culture and standards. Remember Tucker's 2021 text. That should have been the last straw. I agree. Candace, such a good investigator, figured out thunder comes from lightning last week at age 37. You're not wrong. Happy 250th birthday to the best country in the world. Agreed. How dare you, Bronson? They had no choice but to pave it over because they don't have vacuums in Utah. Bees don't have thumbs, so they can't hold them. Eric will be a preliminary hearing per Brian Inton. I've also heard that Charlie Kirk's parents will be there. I don't know if that's true. Ted Bundy's mom said he's innocent to this day. Yeah. Thanks for the great content. I did miss hearing your thoughts on Candace. If you missed it, I don't know if you missed it as you missed it today or you missed it in general because I was out for a while. Have you guys seen the videos they're sharing Cherry's appointing Candace to lead TV USA? They're writing necrophilia fan fiction.
I have not.
No, I haven't seen that. Doesn't surprise me.
At least you're John Mappin, mostly.
CJ Carenti in the house. Thank you, buddy. We always appreciate you, CJ.
That dude's creepy, no? John, not CJ. John Mappin.
CJ
he is.
Yeah. Mappin is, it's like, it always gives me the ick when he shows up in my comments.
Mappin's creepy's something's not right there.
Total was like, and by the way, he's been in the comment section on the lives, and I've sent him. I was like, oh, John Mappin's in the chat. Here you go, John. Here is a guest link. Feel free to jump on. I got a lot of questions for you. You guys should do this more often. Great show. Love being on the higher IQ side of the fence with all of you in the chat and host too. Thank you, buddy. We're getting toward the end here. I don't think anyone has tipped you. Thank you. And that was to one of your guys' channels. Here's an extra tip to one of your guys' channels too. Look at all the all-star lineup. CF, Arty, Jason, and Bronson. Sucks I came in late. I need a reminder from my YouTube reminders. Good luck with that.
Man, who comes in late to a stream?
Thanks for having me on, Gary. Let's do this again soon. Yeah, sorry you had to bounce out, buddy. JD tried to straddle the fence and ripped his pants. Free Camille Anthony, he's innocent. No, he's not. He's guilty is all could possibly be.
Was that a real comment?
I think it is. It's one of your channel people, so I don't know which one it is, but
wow. Crazy.
Charlie Kirk pushed for JD Vance to become VP. He has been very loyal. Tucker Carlson was friends with everyone in Trump, and men including Trump. Let's not be so rash to judge just yet. I haven't been rash to judge. This is something that's been kind of bugging me for the last several months. I'll switch. You know, if he starts coming out and saying some common sense things, I have no problem switching. But right now, I still think Marco, just forget about me saying all that. Just objectively speaking. And I had no bias against JD Vance. I would still say that I think that a Rubio Hegseth ticket would be better than JD Vance.
Yeah, I don't care between the two, to be honest. Whoever wins the nomination, like, obviously, that's the way I'm voting.
Just for fun, Jared, look down, Bronson, look up. And both
tried this already, but
Brady punch moment in all this. I'll be honest with you, I will not participate in this. I just can't.
Yeah, that felt so cringe. I'm not gonna lie. I got cringe bumps all over my arms right now.
I'm about to stop, drop, and roll to get the gay off me. Oh, lots of fun. It cost you your dignity.
That's all right. I wasn't using it anyway.
Oh man. You and your guests are a bunch of mensches, honorable guys. Thanks for all you do. I'm glad you felt the need to define mensch. Thank you. You guys are honorable guys, just dumb as shit. Wow. Always says we when talking about himself and claims he communicates with Charlie from the grave. That is a fact, folks. That is a fact. All right, man. This was fun. Thank you guys. This was a breath of fresh air. Felt a lot less serious. Always enjoy having you guys on. I'm completely down with having you guys on every other week or every week. I don't care.
I'm down. Absolutely.
No, we'll start making it a regular thing. Maybe every Monday or every other Monday or something like that, or Tuesday. I don't care. Mondays. I think Monday would be good. Kind of start the week off right. A little bit more humor, not take everything so seriously. Thank you guys for coming on. We appreciate it. Folks, thank you for tuning in tonight and watching us and supporting us. Make sure, again, you like, subscribe, share our content. That's one thing I asked. We appreciate the super chats. Those are great, and we really do. But share our content. That's the best thing. That's the most powerful thing that you can do for us. Real quick, if you guys will, Arty, just leave everybody with some final words.
Well, I like to be a white pill guy more than anything. We got a bunch of cool stuff coming up. Hopefully, if we get the SAVE Act passed, it's gonna probably take that pendulum that's been going back and forth. And as we know, everything keeps going to the left, no matter how much it swings. That may reverse things. If that one thing can get passed, that may be all we need to start having it tip in our favor. So, don't get black-pilled about it. Let's see if it passes, and then, well, if it doesn't, we'll see what happens then. But, I'd like to leave people with that message.
Good. Yeah. No, keep the faith, folks. Don't let these doomers discourage you. Donald Trump's done just go through and focus on what he's actually got done. Research that. Research it for yourself. Don't let these people discourage you with, we're not getting enough people deported, the Epstein list, all the tropes that they're pushing. Jared.
Yeah, it's Arty makes a really good point. There's a lot of things that we can be positive about. It's very easy to get black-pilled. I'm trying hard not to be black-pilled. I try to keep a positive perspective on it. But look, we're about to celebrate 250 years of the greatest country that's ever existed on God's green earth. I'm thankful to be a part of it, and you all got to watch a panel of 5 people who still love this country and love the people in it. So that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to make this place a better place than we found it. And I remain hopeful, even though every now and then I get a little frustrated, but that's it. We got a long road to hoe, but we can do it. We
just got to fight. And I'm thankful for the audience that we have. I'd rather have the audience that we have that are pro-American, that love this country, than 10 million people that are constantly trying to tear this country down and trying to divide it. I love our audience, and I'm thankful for each and every one of you. Bronson.
I'm super black-pilled, so just listen to what these guys said.
One positive thing. Come on, give us one positive thing.
Andrew Wilson was hired by TPUSA. That's positive.
Was he hired? Is he paid by TPUSA now?
Probably. I think so. I don't think he would have done that for free.
No, I don't think he would do it for free. Yeah, that's probably fair. Just another TPUSA mouthpiece.
I mean, he's probably like an independent contractor. I don't, you know.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. No, I think that is good, and I think, yeah, we need to get Andrew Wilson on. I think that'd be a lot of fun to have him on.
Yeah,
all right,
they need the help.
They do. Look, it's going to take all of you and 10,000 more people to fill Charlie's shoes. It really does, and you know that's how Candace is winning. She's winning through volume, not because she has facts on her side, not because she has evidence. It's just spreading this garbage. And she has so many people out there doing it because her side, just like the left, are more vocal and more willing and more passionate. Like we have to outwork them. We got facts on our side. We got evidence on our side. We have God on our side. And we love this country. And it's time to fight. And some of the simple things you can be doing is just sharing content. That's a good start. Because her people sure do share her content. For sure. Left and right. You don't have to ask them. Anyways, folks, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you so much. You guys don't go anywhere, but for everybody else, have a wonderful night. And until next time, stay armed, stay ready. We'll talk to you soon.